What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, a podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast, The Search for El Gasparilla. Ryan, we have 1 week left of the season. The sun is setting, the Last Chance Saloon is calling final orders, and with just 1 week to go, it is time for teams to put up or shut up. We've got conference championship berths at stake. We've got teams desperately searching for one of the pieces of 12 that will guarantee them entry into the college football playoffs, while others have given up and they've gone on the hunt for the mysterious island of Gasparilla and the bowl game named in its honor, because the playoffs are now just a distant memory for them. I mean, we're about to head into the crazy part of the season. 1 week left. A lot is on the line. A lot is undecided. One mistake, and your entire season is over.
Yep. Going into final week, you're either in one of these groups. You've either booked a championship berth, you're in the mix for a championship berth, you've booked a bowl game, you're trying to make a bowl game, or you're looking to next year and you're probably about to lose half your roster to the portal and or make coaching changes. You're only in one or five, six groups. That's it. And we've got plenty of, like, there's some are lucky enough to have it decided this weekend and they don't have to worry this week. They kind of just have to manage their games and look forward. Like I said, there's a whole conference, this team that's got about six teams sweating. There's about six teams. I mean, some of them more likely than others. Some of them need a lot of help. But like I say, yeah, and the playoffs, like I say, it's coming down to the smallest percentages right now. Winning in, lose, need help. So there's a lot at stake this week.
Exactly. And again, about 7 or 8 ranked teams lost this week. The SEC has been blown wide open. The Big 12 is packed tighter than the nucleus of a black hole. This is all going crazy. So we've got a ton to go through today. On the show, the FCS playoff bracket has been announced, and our resident FCS guy Ryan here is going to have a go at filling that bad boy in, and we'll see how good he can be. He did get one of the championship game guys last year, so we're going to put him to the test today. Mal Marker also asked us last week potentially about QBs coming up to the FBS out of the lower echelons of college football. So Ryan's been having a look through the FCS. I've been having a look through JUCO, and we've compiled together a little list of names to keep an eye out for in terms of people who might be trying to get up to the FBS, and your college team might be after seeing a few who've already hit the portal already out the FCS. So interesting times ahead there. Of course, we're going to take a look back at week 13 as well, when again so many teams fell and the playoffs are murkier than ever as to who's getting there. And of course, it's rivalry week, where it is all decided, where it all ends, and the vast majority of teams, it's time to go bowling or go to Cabo. So we got a lot on the slate. We're going to dive down into this. Let's just get the housekeeping out of the way really quickly. Don't forget ROTL UK Discord. If you want in on that, just let us know. We'll fire you a link across. The main podcast is coming later today. We are double dipping. Again, it is the Chicago Bears preview, because we are on a short week at the moment, so we're having to condense all our shows into a smaller time frame. So the Bears preview is today. Don't forget to like and sub to everything: Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. Speaking of which, McExperiment on Twitch resubscribed for 18 months at tier 1, been subscribed to us for 25 months, saying life got better 25 subs ago. Thanks, ROTL UK. No, thank you, McExperiment. It's down to guys like you and backing us on this pod, supporting us this way. That's the reason we carry on doing what we're doing. So no, thank you for supporting us there. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite as well. Herman Moore's forum he's created for a whole host of Lions content creators to come together into one community with you, the fans, to talk all things Detroit Lions. You'll see a load of people on there, including myself. We're a Twitch affiliate. We're YouTube monetized. We've got a tip jar, so if you want to help us that way, great. And we've got a feedback form, so if you've got any feedback on the shows at all, just let us know. We shall take it all into account for you. Welcome to Brent as well. He's in the YouTube chat. Hope you're doing well, Brent. Yes, your Army Black Knights let us down this weekend, and we're not going to go easy on them today because we were let down by a few teams this week. Yes, please help out these Brits with grit by hitting the like, share, copy. Yeah, appreciate that, Brent, and we love you having you all in the building as always. And his third comment, then it's going to be our only bit of news today because there is a lot of news. There's a lot of coaches getting fired, a lot of stuff going on, but we have so much, only so much we can do in one show. So we're going to save that for next week. But Ryan, NIL is all the rage again at this moment in time. We're starting to get the recruiting classes coming through for next year. A lot of commitments, a lot of flipped commitments, and there was one particularly big one that happened not long after we went off air last week. We'd thought that the Bryce Underwood to Michigan stuff was dead in the water, but apparently it wasn't. Another last ditch effort to go out and get him. And as Brian Kelly's season continues to go from bad to worse for LSU, Michigan flipped the number one commit in the entire country at the quarterback position, and for the cool, ever so tiny figure of just north of $12 million for his time in Ann Arbor. He's going to be earning about $2.6 million a season just off his base deals alone, which would rank him between 18th and 20th on the Detroit Lions roster in the NFL this year. This is three times more than a practice squad player gets, more than double what a guy on minimum vet gets, and what more than basically every squad player on an NFL team gets. I mean, Ryan, for Michigan, this is obviously a massive coup. They've had so much problem at quarterback this year. Obviously, they had their nice four-star Jaden Davis come in just last year. He's, redshirt in his freshman year. They're getting him ready, but they wanted to go out there and get a splash. They're backed by Barstool and Dave Portnoy, and they have really gone out and hired Bryce Underwood. But the question is, are they getting the real Bryce Underwood who really wanted to go here and is really gonna light the fire in college football, or are they getting a $12 million mercenary who's taken the money? And quite frankly, I would blame him when that much is offered to me.
Uh, I'm not convinced they're getting anyone yet. Until he suits up in a Michigan uniform, I'll believe it when I see it. The kid literally tweeted a few days before the deal that it wasn't happening. What happened? And if yeah, what did a check clear? It can't clear. Like, see, you can't pay him. Like, see, you can't. It's all just hypotheticals, isn't it? This 12 million, like, obviously, it's thrown about. I just don't see how that number will ever, actually materialize. We've seen loads of players come out and say, "I was promised this X, Y, Z. I ain't seen a penny of this. I ain't seen a penny of that." NL, I don't know. It's shady in it. Like say that there's talks like say paying this guy more than guys that get activated from like say the practice squad to the activation from a team all year, and he can earn more than them in what 1.5 seasons. It just seems ludicrous to me, and it just proves like say end of the day there is no loyalty in football whatsoever anymore. Now you could be committed as long as you want. You could have signed your national letter of intent, and if someone comes along and waves what is realistically an imaginary checkbook at you right now, like you say, you're thinking about how you can buy your parents a house, get them a car, pay off their debts. A lot of them are thinking with good intentions. Some of them are already thinking about like blowing it at the local strip joint, or like say how they can piss it up the wall because a lot of these kids get the worst financial advice and they will be exploited by every man and their dog. So yeah, I I know very little about him. All I know is that he's a very highly sought after product right now. And yeah, like I say, quarterback right now is a huge issue. If they've got him and they can still go get the veteran from the portal, which I think they need, that will be a big boost to their quarterback room going into next year. And a big boost. This is also really good for Sharon Moore because for me, I thought he was in trouble. I thought, like I say, a lot of people thought they made the wrong decision hiring him. And that they weren't desirable or that they'd hurt their brand with such a bad year that they couldn't get these guys. But yeah, like I say, outside factors appear to have played a case here. Like I say, Barstow will have their, should they be interfering? Should Dave Portnoy be offering personal bounties? It all seems like it's
And
totally wrong and against the spirit of sport, but I just have to accept this is the new landscape we're in now. Football as we know it is no longer a thing.
And he put out a video specifically saying, like, I've been and talked to his family, I've had dinner with them. He has been
That just seems
involved
so
in
wrong
this.
and
It does. But is he any different than I guess a school booster? Like, I guess he would just claim he's a booster for the school now. So it's interesting because now we've got the big rivalry coming up here, and this couldn't be any more bigger. So just to put into perspective, he's earning about 2.6 million a year, or will do. Ohio State's five-star commit next year, Tavion St. Clair, will be earning 1 million a year by NIL, so double the standards. But this is not just, the team up north versus Ohio State. These guys are both local. So Bryce Underwood comes out of Belleville, Michigan. So he's a Michigan guy. He's going there. And then Tavion St. Clair is from Bellefontaine High School in Ohio. So they're already on different sides of the rivalry and they're putting, homeschool guys at quarterback here. It's going to be the five-star thing for years to come. I mean, you've got to figure for Jaden Davis, this means he's done right because they're not going to be paying a guy over 2 million a year to not play football. I mean, maybe you might just bed him in a little next year, but you got to figure that like he's going to hit the portal now and go elsewhere, and you wouldn't blame him at all, really.
I'd expect him to be already sat down to discussing it with his family, his parents, reopening his recruitment. Like you said,
Mm.
we've seen it. Uh, didn't they already lose a quarterback, Michigan? I could swear a
Yeah,
day or two after they did, didn't they? Didn't a
they
three or
did.
a four-star hit the portal as soon as they
Four-star
saw
hit
the
the
Underwood?
portal, and he's gone to Florida State.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but
yeah.
he's gone
It
there.
wouldn't surprise me if Davis does this. I mean, I suppose now time is money. And if money is time, then even if you're, like I say, a high school recruiter or freshman, you've got to go where you're going to play because a lot of this NIL has to be appearance based, playing
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
The adverts as well, if you're going to be like doing adverts for companies, they're going to expect you to be
He's
playing.
Yeah, like they've already said he's got like NFTs out, he's got like merch out, stuff like that they're selling. So it's all going to be part of that. You've got to do so many appearances and blah 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 and commercials, etc. So, but
So I suppose, yeah, then, like you say,
this
you've
is
got to jump
forming
ship.
this is forming the new rivalry. Like I say, these are two five-star kids coming out of their respective states, the teams who absolutely loathe one another, and obviously, they'll probably meet one another this weekend because the game is happening. So, this does, and for Michigan, it's big because it's starting to flip recruits now. All it takes is one big commitment to
It's a
start
domino
flipping
effect, isn't it?
a
Yeah.
lot of recruits. Like his best mate from LSU, the wide receivers, now decommitted, and got to figure he's going to follow him to Michigan as
Look
well.
at Florida
So,
State. Like, say, how many in the last 2 weeks? How many recruits have
gone
they
to
lost?
Florida, to
How many of
Florida
them have
as
gone to
well.
Florida as well?
12 months ago, did you think you'd be seeing the part where Florida State commits a jumping ship to Florida literally daily?
A
They are
Florida team
down.
as well, where most of the fans, a lot of them still want rid of Napier, still
Mm.
wanted rid of him, like I say, but the
I
players, like
told
I
you,
say, they don't
they're
mind. They're
playing for
happy
him.
to defect.
They're playing for him, and we'll talk about it later. They're playing
So yeah.
spoiler.
But yeah.
So
Right, if anyone is committed to a team right now, I'm still not buying it. Like I
no,
say,
no, 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 no.
until like I say, we'll get national signing day in a couple of weeks where you'll get like 10, 15, 12, like say, sign a letter of intent.
Mm.
Until they're in camp in spring, like I say, nothing seems concrete in this world right now.
No. Like if LSU fire Brian Kelly, get a big name in there or something, are they going
Like
to
you
try
say,
and come
yep,
back and
if
get him
LSU
again?
any we
Are they
saw
going
it
to try
today
and come
with the
and get
head
him
coach, like you
again?
say, fired. We saw a four-star edge enter the portal half an hour later. Like I say, so a lot of these cut players right now are sat home and they're just waiting to see if the coach that recruited them is fired. Because if he's fired,
Mm.
hello, transfer portal. I'm here because I don't want to play for a team, but I don't know who's going to coach it.
No, no, because a lot of these guys are not recruited by the head coach, it's by positional coaches, by guys who are good for them. Your running backs they'll want to go for the running back coach, etc. So there's a lot of things at play here. But well done to Michigan. They did get him, and they have been persistent about it. And it takes a lot to flip a number one pick. Just ask Jackson State fans and Deion Sanders when they managed to flip Travis Hunter from Florida State, which is going to be, hopefully they're hoping this happens because what could have been Travis Hunter on that Florida State team, but nope. He's done his work at Jackson State and Colorado. Anywho, right, let's move it on. And as I say, there's been a few other bits this week. Most notably, earlier today, UNC finally fired Mac Brown after kind of what felt like, yeah, this has been a long time coming. We've been saying
Couldn't
it's
have had
meant
to
to
come to
happen. I
this.
mean, we'll talk about it in due course, but I mean that's clearly the right decision from UNC there. Like the ACC, these new teams have come in and they are, they mean business. They're not just here to make up the numbers. The division's more competitive than it's ever been, and teams like UNC falling behind. Like this was right. You're blown out by Boston College this weekend. It's the final straw, yeah.
Oh yeah, it should have come. Why didn't he just resign? Like what? Surely they had a conversation recently and said, "Do us a favor, don't make us publicly fire you after 16 years. Like say, resign, retire." But no, like say, sheer a mixture of pride and stubbornness that maybe he didn't think they'd actually do it. Maybe I think he underestimated them. Nope, they pulled the plug, and now let's see how many their recruits bail. Because let's say Matt Brown, 16 years, one of the longest tenured head coaches in collegiate sports, I imagine, right now in America. Let's say nearly 2 decades. He's out, and let's see how many, like say, guys that wanted to play for him suddenly don't feel so hot about being a Tar Heel.
No,
But yeah,
no.
like I say, recent years have been bad. Quarterback play, shaky. About to lose some of their best players like Hampton. Probably going to go pro. Well, be crazy if he didn't. So yeah, like I say, and the landscape of the ACC wildly changed. You got to move with the times.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. As I say, we'll come back to the others next week. So we've already had an FCS coach promoted to the FBS this year. So, we got a lot we need to look forward to there. Brent goes, the good old days of watching college guys play their tails off trying to get the bag are sadly long gone. I mean, don't be this too in despair just yet, Brent. You look at the amount of talent coming out of JUCO, FCS, etc., who are succeeding at this level. If anything, it's giving the underdogs reason to come up and to play their tail. We're seeing a lot more small school guys making the transition up while all the big teams are going after, these high prize recruits and all the money. So there might be a little subsection where we start to see a lot more of the Cam Wards of the world come through. And actually, we're going to talk about that later. So, anywho, we'll move it on because we do have a lot to go through today. So, the first thing we're going to dive down into the FCS playoff brackets have been announced, and we're waiting for the FBS playoffs to start. The FCS always starts a little bit earlier, so we're just I'm gonna break this down for you, and then we're gonna go into the brackets and see what Ryan thinks, and we're gonna try and see if he can predict who the champion is going to be down there. So I've got the seeds here. I'm just gonna go through the seeds. I've made a few notes about some of them, and then we'll pass it over to Ryan here. So in terms of the seedings for this, so your top 8 seeds get round 1 buys and they get round 2 home games. So your top seeds this year, number 1, you've got the Montana State Bobcats. 2, you've got the North Dakota State Bison. 3, you've got the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. 4, you've got the South Dakota Coyotes. 5, you've got the UC Davis Aggies. That's University of California Davis. Number 6, you've got the Incarnate Word Cardinals. Number 7, you've got the Mercer Bears. Number 8, you've got the Idaho Vandals. So, I say they all get round 1 buys, they get round 2 home games. Seeds 9 to 16 get home games in round 1. So, number 9, you've got the Richmond Spiders. 10, you've got the Rhode Island Rams. 11, you've got the Villanova Wildcats. 12, you've got the Illinois State Redbirds. 13, you've got the Tarleton State Texans. 14, you've got the Montana Grizz, Ryan's pick to get to the championship game last year. 15, you've got the Abilene Christian Wildcats. 16, you've got the New Hampshire Wildcats. And a minor note to make in here, Illinois State at 12, they have to play their game on the road because their state championship has been held at their ground on the day this should be played. So they have to play a road game as opposed to a major one there. Then the other 8 teams you've got rounding out the brackets here, because it's 24 teams altogether. You got the UT Martin Skyhawks, that's University of Tennessee at Martin, the North Arizona Lumberjacks, the Lehigh Mountain Hawks, the Central Connecticut Blue Devils, the Eastern Kentucky Colonels, the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks, the Drake Bulldogs, and the Tennessee State Tigers. And for those who are interested and like our HBCU stuff, Tennessee State are the HBCU team involved this year, although they don't play in one of the predominant HBCU conferences. Just in case, just as a matter of a few of the notes about some of these teams here. So number 5, UC Davis. It's their highest seed in program history at number 5, so good for them. The number 7 Mercer Bears. They won the Southern Conference this year. It's their first conference championship in 92 years. Yes, that's 92 years. Number 10, Rhode Island. It's their first playoff appearance since 1985. They shared the Coastal Athletic Association Championship with Richmond this year. It's also their first conference win or partial conference win since 1985. 13, Tarleton State. Now, these intriguing. They've made the playoffs at the first time of asking. They're the first time to do so since South Dakota State in 2009. So they reclassified from Division Two in 2019. This was their first year of eligibility for the FCS playoffs, and they've made it. Good for them. Number 15, Abilene Christian. This is their first ever FCS playoff appearance, and it's their first playoffs since 2011, when they were also a Division Two team. And then your unranked teams. Northern Arizona, their last playoff win was 2003. Lehigh, their last playoff win was 2011. Both those two teams, neither have been in the playoffs since 2017. Central Connecticut have never won an FCS playoff game. This is their third attempt. Eastern Kentucky, 7 first-round exits in a row dating back to 1994 when they last won an FCS playoff game. For Southeast Missouri State, they've only got one FCS playoff win in their history in 2018. For Drake, they had their first ever FCS playoff berth last year in 2023. They're back 1 year later looking for their first ever win in the playoffs. And then Tennessee State, it's their first FCS playoff since 2013. So before we look at the brackets, Rye, you've got a lot of the favorites in here, the Dakotas, the Idahos, all that. But it seems this year there's a big infusion of talent from other teams who traditionally have not done too well in the playoffs here. It feels like there's a good field for them this year, and I've not seen too many complaints about two teams missing out either. What do you make of the rankings, the seeds, and who's in, etc. first?
I'd say that they're fair. I mean, if I'm honest, I'd say Montana are very lucky to make the playoffs. They were bad this year. Not good at 8-4, shaky, and like I say, last week of the season got absolutely destroyed in the brawl, the brawl of the wild, Montana State. They kicked the snot out of them. So limping in at 14, like I say, he's not great for them. Like I say, they struggled to get past the likes of Portland State and teams in recent weeks. This is not the same Grizz we've seen in recent years. They're just not as good. Like I say, there are some sides, like I say, Lehigh, like I say, they won the obviously after
The Patriot League ones.
yeah, so like I say, obviously they've taken the mantle of, like say, 4 or 5 recent years. You would have had the Holy Cross, but after their head coach left, they've regressed massively this year. So Lehigh were able to kind of take control of that and win that conference, being in the playoffs this year. Let's say some really interesting ones. Tarleton State, I like. They have got one of the best players in all of football in Kayvon Britton. He is one of the best running backs in the entire country. He has been dominant all this year. And honestly, I'm looking at their bracket and I really like them to make waves. I think this is set up really nicely for them.
All right, lovely. So we've got the bracket here, and we're going to see how good you are with this. I'm going to fill this in, and we're going to see where you're at, because Montana weren't the most fancied last year, and you stuck with them through the first time the playoffs were announced, and you said they were going to make it there. So I want to see just how good you are at this. So we've got the brackets here. So I say we've got the first round. We've got 8 games in the first round. Then you've got 8 games in the second round, and then it halves and halves till you get to the championship games. So I'm just going to go through this in no particular order. But the first one up, you've got UT Martin, the unranked team, on the road at number 16, New Hampshire. The winner gets the honor of going on the road to play number one Montana State. So not not the easiest of draws to get. Skyhawks, right, or New Hampshire? Who you fancying to get through that?
I'm gonna take the upset straight away. I'm gonna go with UT Martin. They've scored 40 points five times this season, 40 or more points. Their offense is very powerful. I like them to go there and cause an upset.
All right. So they're going to go and play number one ranked Montana State. So next up, we've got Lehigh, co-winners of the Patriot League with Holy Cross, but because they finished higher, they got the automatic seed. Holy Cross didn't. Away at number 9, Richmond, the Spiders broke the hearts of HBCU fans everywhere last year when they took down NC Central. Can't remember how far they got in the end, but the Spiders look good. They're at home against Lehigh, right? Going on to face number 8 Idaho in the second round. The winner is who have you got? Upset again, or are we going with the ranked team?
No, I've got the Spiders based off recent success, and I'm going to talk about one of their players in a bit. Like you said, I think Richmond just too well-rounded right now.
All right, so we're going to have an all-ranked affair there. Next up, so we've got the one fixture that's been played in reverse. So Illinois State are the ranked team, but due to a scheduling conflict at their stadium, they've got to play on the road. So they've got Southeast Missouri State at home against the number 12 ranked Illinois State. Who do you have here?
I like Seymour. I think this wouldn't. I think this is fairly even to say that they're ranked 12 and these are unranked. Both got good offenses, both high powered, but I like them at a neutral venue. No home, no. There's no advantage to being ranked here, and they're both 9-3 on the year. So yeah, I like Southeast Missouri to cause an upset there.
Okay, and they're going to go on an away trip to UC Davis. And then the first half of the bracket, we got Drake, the Bulldogs, away at Tarleton State, ranked number 13. Now, kind of figure maybe where you're going here because of how you were talking about them, but who have you got at Drake at Tarleton State?
Oh yeah, give me Tarleton State. They have been fantastic this year. Kayvon Brayton has, like I say, 1,745 yards, 16 touchdowns. He's got 16 touchdowns last season. He had 16 touchdowns the season
Jesus
before that.
Christ.
This guy is 54. He's got 48 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 years. One of the best players in all of football. I think he will
Wow.
get a lot of draft luck, like I said. But yeah, there's just a lot of offense that Tarleton State offer right now. I think they'll have too much and they'll overpower them.
No, they'll get a road trip to the South Dakota Coyotes. We will come back to that shortly. On the other side of the bracket, we got Northern Arizona on the road to number 15, Abilene Christian. Obviously, we saw Abilene in that massive shootout against Texas Tech, which they narrowly lost earlier in the year. They're at home, they're seeded. Going on to face the number 2 ranked North Dakota State Bison. So this isn't easy, but who have you got, Northern Arizona or Abilene Christian?
I've actually got the upset here. Northern Arizona, I've got a
Ooh.
5 game win streak right now, and I think they've got too much, and they've also got one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Ty Pennington. So I think they will go there, cause the upset. Like I say, they've got a quarterback's passed over 200,000 yards, only a sophomore as well, only thrown one interception all year to 13 touchdowns. So I'll take the
All
Lumberjacks going in there, riding that hot hand right now.
All right, lovely. And then we've got a breaking of unwanted records here. We've got Central Connecticut State on the road to number 10 ranked Rhode Island. Obviously, Central Con never won an FCS playoff game. Rhode Island, first playoff appearance since 1985. They've not won a game in the playoffs since then, so it's going to snap a record for somebody. Central Con State at Rhode Island. Who you got?
Uh, this one will be very one-sided. It's the Rams that they'll be fine at home. I think this one could be, yeah, this one should be quite lopsided, unfortunately.
All right, we've got Rhode Island, and they'll go on to face Mercer on the road. We got Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels, on the road to number 11, Villanova, the basketball school. Vying to go on a trip to Incarnate Word. Who have you got, the Colonels or Villanova?
This one is one of the more hotly contested. These two teams can score 30, 40 points most week. I think this one ends up in a shootout, and I think the Wildcats will just edge it at home. But this will be one of the more entertaining games.
So we've got Villanova making it through there. Well, I can find that. And then the last of the first round ones, Tennessee State, the only HBCU involved in this, on the road against the number 14 Montana Grizz. And the reward, if you somehow upset them here, is a trip to number 3 ranked South Dakota State. This is the rough side of the draw. The HBCU, right? Can they upset the Grizz who've not been on form, or do you expect the Grizz to come to life now they hit the postseason?
I think this one is a bad matchup for Montana. It won't be pretty. I think they just scrape by. But I'm very not convinced. A shock upset here would not surprise me. The Grizz have looked shaky at best at times. Quarterback play right now it's very up and down.
All right, TL. So we move on to the second round of the brackets here. So we go back to the beginning. We got number 1 Montana State at home against UT Martin, the Skyhawks. Any upset here, or is the number 1 seed gonna carry on through?
No upset. Tommy Malott, Montana State quarterback, will cut through UT Martin like hot butter.
All right, we've got the Bobcats going through there, and who will they be facing? Will it be the number 9 Richmond Spiders on the road at the number 8 Idaho Vandals? As close as you can get seeding wise.
It is. Like I say, Idaho have been very good this year. Like I say, they've just eked out that bye. Uh, this one's difficult. Like I say, they've also played some FBS competition.
Nearly beat Oregon. They've looked handy. Pretty
Yeah,
sure they nearly beat a Mountain West team as well. Or did they
yeah,
beat one? Did they beat New Mexico? They might have beaten New
they
Mexico,
dropped
possibly.
Wyoming by one
Ah,
score.
yeah.
But yeah, everyone around them. See, but they lost to UC Davis, lost to NAU, got whipped by Montana State. Give me Richmond.
Oh, we're going Richmond on the. I don't know if it's an upset or not, but technically
It don't
seeding
feel
wise,
like
it
one.
is. No, that just shows how tight it is there. And then the other second round we got on this side of the bracket to make the quarterfinals, we've got UC Davis, number 5, ranked at home against SEMO, who you had advancing in the first round. Who've you got in the second round?
I'll take the Aggies. They've been
Yes.
very good this year. They've flexed their muscles and shown that they belong here. Coming second in the Big Sky, which for me it's the best conference in FCS football.
All right, okay. So we've got UC Davis making the quarterfinals. Then we've got number 13 ranked Tarleton State on the road at number 4, the South Dakota Coyotes. Do Tarleton State's dream run continue?
It could, you know. South Dakota they've been okay. Uh, no, I'll take South Dakota just, but I reckon Tarleton State could push them pretty far.
So competitive, but the end for them, but wouldn't be bad. Getting a playoff win in their first year in the playoffs, you'd love that there. On the other side of the bracket, we've got North Dakota State ranked number 2 at home to Northern Arizona, who upset Abilene Christian in the first round in your eyes. Who is there a second upset on the book, or are the Bison gonna do away with Arizona?
Bison will dispatch them fairly comfortably.
So we've got 2 North Dakota State. And who will they be playing? The battle of the number 10, sorry, Rhode Island Rams against number 7, the Mercer Bears. So their first championship in 92 years. A bit of a historic season for them. Is it the Rams or the Bears who are going to face the Bison?
Uh, I'll I'll take Mercer. They were the first team to qualify. They were the first team to get an automatic bid. They're one of the best teams all year at 10-2.
So we've got Mercer against North Dakota State in the quarterfinals. And then the final one, we've got number 11, Villanova, on the road at number 6 in Connaught Wood. Another team who love to sling darts. Sounds like another high scorer. Who've we got? Villanova at Incarnate Word.
I've got the Cardinals.
So
Too
we
much
got
offense, and their quarterback plays too good.
so we got Incarnate Word coming through there. And who are they going to be playing? Are they going to be playing number 14 Montana on the road at number 3 South Dakota State? The Grizz versus the Jackrabbits.
Grizz gets spanked.
So we've got number 3 South Dakota State making that up there. Right. So we've got the quarterfinals now. Now I just need to make sure because it's higher seeding gets home. So we have number 9, the Richmond Spiders, on the road at number 1, Montana State. Do the Spiders' dreams stay alive, or do Montana State extinguish them?
Nah, Montana can handle the conditions. Cold, outdoors, their place. They're just too well designed for that.
Okay, and then on the other quarterfinal on this side, you've got number 5 ranked UC Davis. Sorry, no rankings. The number 9 South Dakota. Sorry, no, I am getting this right. Number 5 UC Davis on the road at number 4 South Dakota.
I take the Aggies on the road.
Ooh, we got a UC Davis upset. There we go. That's going to be a great one. Then the quarters on the other side, we've got Mercer ranked number 7 at North Dakota State ranked number 2, the Bears and the Bison.
I'll take the Bison purely because they play in a better conference and they're just more well-rounded for playoff football.
And will they be playing number 6 ranked in Word on the road at number 3 South Dakota State? Are you going to do it? Is it going to be the big rivalry game, or are Incarnate Word going to spoil the party?
No, the three-peat lives on. Mark Gronowski, like you say, they're chasing, like you say, one of the dynasties of sports that they move to the next round.
All right, and then we've got the semis. So you've got number 5 UC Davis at number 1 Montana State.
Could be interesting, but nah, I'll take I'll take the Bobcats. Montana State moving on to another night.
So we've got Montana State
They're making the
there.
most of the players before they go.
And then on the other side, we've got number 3 South Dakota State at number 2 North Dakota State. You've done it. You've gone for the rivalry game. Who comes out on top, the Bison or the Jackrabbits?
See, it's hard because I don't necessarily want to go off their previous meeting this year. Like I say, because in the playoffs, that kind of it's irrelevant, isn't it?
Playoff football hits different.
And it was such a defensive battle as well. It was a 13-9 to the Bison. Flip that score, defensive slugfest, Jackrabbits. Well, we're running back a Jackrabbits, Bobcats, night.
Um, all right. So in the final, we got number 1 Montana State versus number 3 South Dakota State. Who do you have winning the entire thing?
I've got it. We have a three-peat. We have back-to-back-to-back national champions. I'm going South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
So
Matt Gronowski's going to go out on a high as a footballing legend.
there we have it. The bracket is in. Ryan's pick is South Dakota State. So fair to say, looking at this bracket, your pick for underdog in this, you've got UC Davis. You fancy UC Davis to make some waves in this one here. Are they the dark outsider for you? Who's the outsider if it's not South Dakota State? Who's going to be the team who shocks everyone if they do?
See, I look at that corner. I just look at Tarleton State and I just think they're in the best part of the. Do you know what I mean? The best part of the bracket to potentially cause an upset because they're avoiding everyone that does not have Dakota in their name. until later on, aren't they? Like
until they get to the semis against Montana
until they
State
get to the semis,
potentially.
like so. Yeah, so it's built pretty well for them.
So you fancy Tarleton State maybe in there and a bit of UC Davis as well. You fancy us from that corner of the bracket, yeah.
That
I can
corner of the
see.
bracket, I can see. Yeah,
Absolutely right. Well, there you have it. Those are the FCS playoffs predicted as by our own Ryan there. He's got South Dakota State winning. Any other FCS fans out there, if you have any views on who's going to win it, let us know. Let's just check I've not missed any comments while we've been doing this. Grandizer in the building. Hope you are doing well, Grandizer. He goes, you know it's cold when Ryan has a sweater on. He looks all bundled up. It's winter here. It is a bit chilly. But us and others in the Hardy, we put on coats before we put on the heating because we're cheapskates. That's how we do it. That's the way of the world. So yeah, that is everything in terms of the FCS playoffs. In terms of when they're happening, we will go through them week by week and let you know what's happening. And so you got that to look forward to every week. Now, right, let's move it on. And we're going to stick in the FCS JUCO era now because mile marker the other week asked us a very intriguing question. Who in the ranks of the lower leagues would potentially be coming up to the FBS? Obviously, we've had a lot of success stories this year when you look at Minnesota and Max Brosmer, when you look at oh Christ, in the Mountain West. You've got UNLV who've had two FCS quarterbacks under center this year, and they're potentially going to make the title game there. For Indiana, you've had Curtis Rourke come out of the MAC. I know that's technically FBS, but there seems to be an age where a lot of these guys are coming through the ranks now. So Ryan's had a look at the FCS. I've had a look at JUCO. So I'm going to head straight back to Rye here. So who have you been taking a look at in terms of FCS quarterbacks who potentially have already gone in the portal because some have, or might make the jump up, who you think are good enough? Who are some of the guys you're looking at in the FCS quarterback department?
this is really hard because the best quarterbacks in the FCS are juniors or seniors, and they don't have any eligibility. So I've had to look at guys that could potentially have, like say, exemptions. They might have to apply for a waiver. So I suppose the biggest name, and I suppose actually now I think about it, is glaring obvious. It is a former FBS quarterback. It's Zach Calzada. Now, the former Texas A&M QB, like I say, the first 2 years in the FBS were not kind to him, but he was young, he was fairly naive. Like I say, he battled injury. Like I say, he dropped down to UIW, and he spent 2 years there now. He's got 52 touchdowns and 17 interceptions of the last 2 seasons as a Cardinal. He's taken them to 2 playoff berths. There's been some wild contests, and he's racked up a lot of yardage. Now, he's a senior, but I read that he lost his 2022 season to a season-ending injury and never played. He has got the ability to apply for a waiver from the NCAA and have another year as a 6th year. And if he did, I think he would spend that as a G5 team. Like I said, I think, depending on what happens in the playoffs now, but like I said, he's older, he's smarter, he's better than he was when he was in Aggie. I think he's in a better position to have won last year. If he so chooses, I think it would do him the world of good. I think he would get a lot of interest as a team. Like I say, look at Minnesota. They went and got a guy right at the end of his eligibility that's already eligible for the Senior Bowl in Brosma. Like I said, Calzada, a G5 team could do that for him. Like I said, the last 2 years, tons of confidence, great play. And he'd come back up a lot better than he went down. So my other option is, so we've got another guy here, Sam Vidlak, the quarterback from Stephen F. Austin. Now this guy has been in the transfer portal more times than I've had hot dinners. So he's a former Oregon State, Boise State, and Montana Grizz quarterback. Now, he has got 1 year of eligibility, I believe. This year, he finished 2nd overall in the entire country in the FCS in passing efficiency with a 177.28 rating, with 27 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions for the whole year. So I think he's someone that also a G5 team could look at. Like I say, end of eligibility, bounced around ever, not really found a home, but he's a bit of a drifter. So it kind of makes sense for him to hit in the portal. He's had 3 options before, so it won't surprise me if he's got any eligibility left to just try his hand again. Like I say, I don't think he'd, unless he stays at Stephen F. Austin, but it won't surprise me if he tries one last crack at an FBS team. And then the last one I've got is I said I'd mention a Richmond quarterback. This is guy is just a sophomore, Camden Coleman, 6'2", 6'3", 2 seasons under his belt as a starter, 65% completion, just under 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Finished third in the Colonial last year with 9-4, but as we mentioned this year, got them a berth, got them a home game, won the Colonial Athletic Conference with a 10-2 record this year. So, like I say, he's got that perfect blend of lots of eligibility, good arm, big build, recent success at quite a good academic school. The Spiders are quite a relevant program in recent years, like say some big wins. And if he does have a good run this year, like say, and he does want to go into his junior year, maybe I think he might. I mean, I don't think he will, or maybe he shouldn't. Some will tell him, but maybe try your chance in the portal. Like say, you've got 2 whole years of starting under your belt. Like say, you're not a novice. He's got experience. Like say, he's got a chance to now go on a decent playoff run, kind of get his name out there on national TV, have a look at him. And it's like I say, a Sunbelt team, a MAC team, a let's say someone like that, a CUSA team might look at him and think, not the finished article, but only just had his sophomore year, 2, 3 more years. We've got something to work with. Like I said, there's some basis there, had success. And like I say, tough task taking down Lehigh champion. If he goes out there and has a good game, like I say, then lands himself in the next round, like I say, because we know they've got Montana State already in that bracket. So there is a chance, like I say, to come up against the Idaho Vandals who have played FBS opposition this year. Someone may send a scout to that game if they get through. So yeah, I think Camden Coleman is someone, like I say, that maybe it'd be best for him to stay, but looking long term or longer term, could be a guy that does make the jump up to the FBS. Like I say, whether a school applies for the transition in a couple of years and he thinks, I'll go with them. Like I say, I think we're going to see a lot of these may come now from teams that, like I said, move from FCS to FBS, might try taking FBS quarterback with them if they lose their own. So I think that now we'll see more teams dipping down into that second sub-conference level.
Yeah, absolutely. There's more there. And then the news went out the other day. Gardner Webb's starter's gone in the portal. Tyler Riddle. So he's thrown 8,000 yards, 55 touchdowns in his career. That potentially maybe another one who's going up as well. The Bulldogs aren't in the playoffs this year, but they were last year, weren't they?
Yeah,
They've just not
a
had
lot
as
of
good a
teams have
year.
missed out. Notable teams that missed out in the playoffs this year: Gardner Webb, William
Holy
and Mary,
Cross. Yeah.
the Tribe are a big program.
Holy
Sacramento State,
Holy Cross.
Holy Cross, Fordham, they're
North
not there.
North Dakota.
Yep, North Dakota. So there's some big programs, like I say, that missed out this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I said there's some very talented quarterbacks there, so maybe you'll see some of those coming up. So I took a look down in JUCO, and that that was a hell of a lot harder to try and find guys down in JUCO. But obviously, Joey Aguiar came up to App State, broke nearly every school record in a season last year, although he's had a bit of a quieter second season. So I've got four here to keep an eye on. So. The most talented quarterback down in JUCO is not allowed to play in the FBS because he's banned. And by saying that, I guess, Rye, would you be able to figure a guess at who that is? Got banned for gambling on his own team, Iowa State. You remember?
Uh, no, not off the top of my head.
Hunter Deckers.
Oh, DEKKRS. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Former quite high star prospect, wasn't
He was Iowa State. He was the Bechticles' predecessor there. He's down at Iowa Western Community College at the moment. He's had a great season there, and obviously he had 2 seasons as a starter as a Cyclone. But so in technical terms of talent, he's
he? Is he banned
probably the most.
indefinitely? Can it
Yeah, he
can he
can't
not play
play.
at the FBS level ever again?
No, he gambled on his own team. Like, gambling on your own team is lifetime. Gambling on other teams, I
I
think,
hope he
is
won. I hope he won the
negotiable.
bet.
Yeah, but when you gamble on your own team, obviously you're then setting up max fixing allegations and stuff like that. So he can play in JUCO because it's not officiated by the NCAA, but he's not allowed in any NCAA competitions. So Hunter Deckers is the most talented quarterback down there, but he can't come up. But that was kind of just a little asterisk in there. So I've got four guys. Two of them were meant to have come up to the FBS last year, but for whatever reason didn't. So you've got Ty Keys at East Mississippi Community College. So he was meant to come up to Louisiana Tech this year. So he's the former Southern Miss quarterback who was gonna yeah, he had injury problems there for 2 years, struggled with playing time, struggled to get his game going, and he wasn't able to get it done. So he dropped down, had a good season with East Mississippi, then came back up to go to Louisiana Tech, but then for whatever reason, he decided he wanted to go back down and have another year in JUCO first. He's played 13 games. He's thrown for 3,350 yards and 33 touchdowns. This guy has the caliber. He was recruited as an FBS quarterback. It's just injuries that have kind of done it for him. So I would fully expect to see him back in the group of five this year. Somebody's going to pick him up and somebody might start him right away. He's a dual threat guy as well. So Ty Keys is one certainly to keep an eye out on. The other one was Samari Collier. He's playing at Hutchinson Community College. So he had the same. He went to Louisiana at the start of this season. He was the starter in the spring game, had a really good game, but then he had some academic issues, which meant that he wasn't able to get on the team. So he had to go back down into JUCO for another year. But again, he's another who's had a fantastic season. Over the last 2 years, he's thrown for 2,574 yards at 54%. He's got 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, just five this year. Got a really good passer efficiency rating. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. He's out of DeSoto, Texas. Initially gotten by Illinois before making the drop down, but his size, his speed, he does have a little bit of dual threat ability about him. 13 rushing touchdowns the last 2 seasons and 900 yards on the ground at 5 yards per carry. So he's dual threat. Not as much ability left, but I would expect to see Samari Collier back up as well this year. And then the two who've not been up yet and were not recruited out of high school, who I'm very intrigued in. So save my favorite for last. The first one I've got is Chip Cooper. So he's a sophomore out of the Georgia Military Community College. Now, instantly the name Diego Pavia comes to mind from doing this, but he is in the Diego Pavia mold. He's had 2 seasons there now. He's 5'11", 178. Now, people might think that's quite light, but he's had 221 rushes over the last 2 years. The dude is durable and can run the ball. So he's got 20 starts in the last 2 years, highly experienced just for a second-year guy. He's 131 of 247. Obviously, service team run it more than they throw it, but he's throwing at 53%, which is good. 1,760 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions as well. His passing is very good for a service quarterback, kind of similar to Pavia. Pavia doesn't throw many interceptions either. 221 rushes for 1,224 yards at 5.5 yards per carry. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns on the ground. Now, more teams are sort of moving to this hybrid-y, option-based offense, especially at the group of five level in college football. Now, people will have taken a look at what Pavia's done, and I fully expect this guy, because he's young, he's still got a lot of eligibility left to get some looks going forward, maybe even from New Mexico State if they wish to try and get him again. But he's out of Sylvester, Georgia, so plenty of teams around there for him to pick from at that level if he wishes to. But I would keep an eye out on Chip Cooper there. And then the one I really, really like, he's named Landon Vaughns. So he's just a freshman. He plays at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. He's 5'11". He's 190 pounds. He's out of Brandon, Mississippi. Really impressive freshman year from him. 166 of 264. That's a 63% completion percentage for a freshman playing his first year out of high school. 2,242 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. But rookie, you can excuse the high number there. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns, but he is a pure pocket passer as of now. Again, good build, 5'11", 190, stand and deliver. Really impressive as a young man there. Probably would expect him to do another year in JUCO before he comes up, because generally the guys who start down there don't come up quick. They have to stack a few good years up before teams fully start taking notice. But I think that's a name you're going to hear at the FBS level sooner rather than later. Landon Vaughns out of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Maybe we might see him this year. And if we do, intrigued to see where he goes because he's got a lot of eligibility left, a lot of time to turn into a very good quarterback at the next level. So those are my 4 guys out of JUCO there. You've got Landon Vaughns, Mississippi Gulf Coast, Chip Cooper from Georgia Military Community College, Shamari Collier from Hutchinson, Ty Keys from East Mississippi. And just quickly remind every one of your FCS QBs to watch out for in the FBS next year, right?
I've got Zach Calzada, former Aggies quarterback, current incarnate word cardinal. Got Sam Vidlak from Stephen F. Austin. I'll try to think of their nickname.
The Lumberjacks, aren't they?
The
Stephen F.
Lumberjacks,
Austin.
the
Yeah,
Austin.
the Stephen
Yeah.
F. Austin are the Lumberjacks.
And then Camden Coleman, the sophomore from the Richmond Spiders, that's currently about to. Yeah. So 2 of these are in the playoffs, and you'll see them in the first round. See one of them in the first round, you'll see one of them in the second round.
There you go. And we will hear about their adventures during the FCS playoff recaps. I was quickly thinking about this the other day, how few teams are nicknamed Lions at the collegiate level. Because I find them around, but there's no Lions, are there, in the FBS? There's no Lions at the FBS level.
No.
Are there any Lions in the FCS? The only ones I ever think of are the BC Lions, but that's Canada, so...
There is. I'm trying to think. Oh, they've got a golden lion's face. One of the quarterbacks I talked about, I think, played for Lions. Ah, wait, actually, it's Kayvon Britton. He played for a Lions. It is Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think they're Lions. Their badges are the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Oh, nice. I was just thinking how
I
bad
think
it
the
was
most
that
common name in Division 1, I think, is Tigers. I can think of a hell of a lot of Tigers.
Yeah, Auburn, Clemson, Missouri, LSU. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's so few Lions though. We need Lions in the FBS there. Grandi's Grandi's are in Knickers, lads, Knickers. Oh dear. Hope you're doing well. You got any questions you want to ask us as we're going along, then just let us know. So we're going to dive down into the Week 13 review now. So we've done the FCS playoff bracket. We've done quarterbacks at the lower level. Now we need to talk some FBS football. And what a weekend it was. With us getting to the end of the year, I'm sort of not doing it how we normally do. I'm breaking it down by conference now so we can, really take a look at some of the conferences as one because there's a lot going on and some of these conferences really convoluted at this moment in time. So it was a struggle whether to decide between the Big 12 and the SEC to start, but the Big 12 is where it's at this year. We mentioned preseason. This is the one that's going to be a cluster. It's going to be a minefield that there are probably most of the teams could potentially win it. And going into the last week of the season, we have 4 teams who have identical records. And this is just gonna keep on getting even worse going into the last year. But there's 3 main games that happened regarding these teams last week, and one of them was 2 teams playing one another. And I don't know whether we've ever opened with your Sun Devils before, but we're gonna open with them prematurely, like their fans rush the field prematurely in this game. But 2 incredibly tough fixtures for them. They had Kansas State the other week. They got BYU this week. Needed to win both to stay open in the race. And they did, coming out 28-23 winners over a BYU team who have now dropped 2 in a row, and their the playoff hopes are hanging by a thread. This was, again, like Kansas State, Arizona State got out early to a big lead, but unlike the other one, Kenny Dillingham showed maybe his youthful inexperience in this one. It was not his best coached game in the world. But this was the Cam Scatterbo show. 3 touchdowns unanswered to start the game. Runs from 3, 4, and 23 before BYU were able to get a walk-off field goal just before the half, the 25 from with 25 seconds left. Will Ferrin hit a field goal from 49 yards. Then the comeback kind of started to happen with 3 minutes left of the third quarter. Kenny Dillingham passed up a chip shot field goal because I don't know much about it, but apparently Arizona State have had really bad kicking problems this year, and he decided he
They held
wasn't
open
gonna.
tryouts on campus a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he
They literally
wasn't.
just asked any student if you want to try come kick because we don't trust a kicker.
Yeah, and he decided to pass up a chip shot field goal on a fourth down. They turned it over. BYU drove the length of the field, and Keelan Marion had a 10-yard touchdown run to bring it down to Arizona State 21, BYU 9. ASU then very quickly went back in front. Sam Levitt had a pass to Xavier Guillory for 61 yards for a touchdown. It was great. 28-9 to the good. But then BYU hit back right away. Jojo Phillips had a 21-yard touchdown pass from Jake Retzlaff. They got the 2-point conversion to Darius Lassiter as well to make it an 11-point game. 6 minutes later, Keelan Marion again had a run in the end zone from 1 yard out to 2-point conversion failed. So it's 28-23. They were trying to get it to within a field goal. And Ryan, this seemed like the first time we've seen Kenny's inexperience here. There were some questionable decisions been made on drives, punts, etc. BYU had a chance to win this one late on, but they were able to turn them over, thankfully. And then the fun play at the end of the game, they were driving. It was a fourth down. Sam Levitt heaved it into the heavens, out of bounds, but there was a second left on the clock, but the entire student section had spilled out onto the field. The entire pitch was full, and you had this great picture about half an hour later because they couldn't get them all back in the stands. Literally, the fans were on the sidelines all the way around the side of the field. BYU had an attempt at a Hail Mary to try and get out of it, but they were not able to, and Arizona State saw it out. And this was a very big win for them, right? You know, BYU coming off the loss. It's still a tough team to beat. Kenny made some questionable calls, but he's young. He's allowed one of these, and he will hopefully learn from it. And the Sun Devils, it's in their hands now. Win and you're in. And I mean, what a recovery in the second half of the season. They just look so good right now.
Yeah, I'd say I watched it. For the most part, not a good performance. Most of the second half, yeah, was not good. Like I say, it was disappointing. Like I say, last week they got off to a hot start. They were 21-0 up ahead of Kansas State. Like I say, and then the second half they managed it. They kind of held them at arm's length. Tried to do the same this week, but honestly, they almost failed. So right at the end of the game, instead of trying to score to end the game, like I say, he's just worrying about wasting clock. And the problem is, he's asking Sam Levitt, instead of just like take a knee and run the clock, he's asking Sam to run further and further back to waste time. Like I said, we're almost at midfield. And I'm thinking, if you turn this over on downs, like I say, you almost get them in a field goal range, or you get them in the chance. Like that's crazy. Like you're asking him to run around like a chicken and waste time, but he's running further back the other way. And then the fact that the math didn't math, he did not calculate that they could not waste enough time. Like I say, even with a Hail Mary. The fact, like I say, and the fourth down play where they tried to score at the end, it got stuffed. Horrible play. So I still can't decide if Levitt turns the wrong way on the handoff, or if Scatterbo goes the wrong way, because it's clearly not designed like that. Because Sam absolutely chews Cam out after the play. He yells at him because he hung the quarterback out to dry. He's got to try run for the pylon, gets out, and from that we were never in control from that moment. I was so worried, and we were bailed out by one of Retzlav's worst throws of the year. The overthrow for the interception was absolutely dreadful. They were marching down the field because they decided Arizona State, we're just going to play soft coverage. Like, we're just going to let you use clock. They knifed through them. Just check downs, like I say. Terrible defense, like I say. And in the end, yeah, they're very. I'm not sure why. I know you can throw a flag if fans can't get off. They bent the posts. I'm very surprised there was no unsportsmanlike conduct flag thrown by the sideline, and that would have moved the ball from the 49 to like the 35. Like I say, the Hail Mary only landed at the 3. Retzlav's not got a big arm, but if they'd have penalised Arizona State and moved the ball 10, 15 yards further, he'd have bombed that into the end zone and they could have won. So in the end, very lucky. Like I say, BYU, yeah, we've seen their frailties in the last 2 weeks. Like I say, they've not looked good. They've started too slowly. And now, yeah, they're basically out. Like I say, they're hanging on by a lifeline because they need help. The Sun Devils right now, like I say, them and Colorado, what, the only two teams that winning in? It's both in their hands, isn't it? Like I
No,
say,
it's Iowa State. Colorado out of this if they can't get not in Colorado's hands anymore. The Bectical train is there, boy. I love
yeah.
it.
So yeah, Arizona State, yeah. And then like I say, but it's double Arizona State. It's the Territorial Cup. And they've not had it for
It's
nearly 3 years.
they're all in the pick watch
Yeah.
later.
The
You've got
Wildcats,
to
like say, right now look terrible. TCU destroyed them, but
do,
yeah, it's a double whammy for Arizona State. Like I say, this is well,
do you
technically, you could say this is one of the biggest games in program history because, like I say, there's a playoff berth. There's a top 4 playoff berth uh, right now in their hands.
have they
Making championship game.
when were they like have they ever been in the playoffs before? Did they ever make the old format playoffs or
No,
anything back in the day
I
or
don't think
so?
they were ever anywhere close. You've got to go back to the days of DJ Foster, Taylor Kelly in the early 2010s, where they won 10, 11 games. Like saying they
Mm.
were firmly in the Pac-12 title race. But since then, it's been 8 7s, 8 9s, winning bowl games.
But is
This is
it
the closest they've ever been to national glory. They
do
have
you
won a
feel like
national title, but I
yeah.
believe it was a lot decades ago.
Do you feel like they needed this game? Like this is almost sometimes when you win these ones
This
and
was a
everything
wake-up
goes
call.
wrong, there's a lot of bad tape for them to get out the system now. It feels
Yeah.
like that, because I mean, again, defense was good. Three times they picked Retzlaff off. They were able to keep the run game relatively in check. LJ Martin, he was a nobody, and Marion just had 2 short rushing touchdowns. It felt like the defense is there and they got the takeaways and ultimately it wins it for them. So
The kicking issues, though, it has to be a
so
worry,
So is the
potentially.
kicker injured then? Like what why did they have
No,
tryouts?
they've got a kicker. He's just went like 7 and 15 to start the year. Terrible.
Oh God.
They don't trust him.
Oh.
So they held trials, like I said, they didn't sign anyone, they didn't add anyone on the roster. Right now, right now they're either punting or they're going for it. They don't trust their kicker of anything outside of like 30, 35
Crazy.
yards.
That chip shot was like 28, I think they said.
Yeah,
28, 29 it was.
they
And
don't trust. Yeah. So
no.
yeah, if next week, like say you put them in a field goal, let's say they need a 40 yard field goal to win, Jesus
They'll
Christ, like I
throw it.
say,
They'll throw it instead of kick it.
oh no, they might go for it, but honestly, I think all the fans will turn away. Like
Oh,
they'll turn their backs, they won't be able to watch.
oh dear me.
But yeah,
But
like I say, they played some of the ugliest football. The fact is, right now, like I say, Sam's healthy, Cam is healthy. That's all they need. John
and
Tyson's playing his best stuff.
what he got like the first 6 catches thrown by Levitt, wasn't it? Like the first
Yeah.
6 completed
Levitt
catches
went,
were all
like I
to
say, started
him.
like 10 for 10. Like I say, he got 6. Like I say, for the last couple of weeks, he's got basically every target.
9 catches on 11 targets for 125 yards for him. Like the
He's
dude's one of
averaging
the
like 80, 90
informed.
yards for like last
Yeah,
5, 6 weeks.
I'm pretty sure he's got 300-yard games in the last 5 now, and he's up at like 70 or 80 minimum. Like Jordan Tyson is one of the informed receivers in the country right now. Scatterboo. I feel like he's had a personal vendetta since we both had him as like an honorable mention in our running back rankings. He's just gone crazy.
Yeah.
But like
Like I
he
say,
started this game.
if they do manage to make the Big 12 title game and go further, he will get the fringe Heisman talk. Because I suppose when you look at Heisman, it's an MVP and
Mhm.
who is the most valuable player on the team. You can make a strong case to Sam, but ultimately, Cam is the heart. Like I said, without him, there's no passing game, is there?
And they were predicted to finish bottom of their conference, and
Yeah.
they might win. Like that's the biggest turnaround you can have from bottom
Yeah.
to top. So
Like I say, and it's the fact, like I say, they don't need any help. They just got to
yeah,
handle their own business.
I think Kenny should be in Coach of the Year talk,
Yeah.
potentially, providing he doesn't, do
As
that
long as they
again.
handle business next week, he'll be firmly. And they just handed the running back coach and offensive coordinator 2 years extensions.
Yeah, so it seems like they're
So
building
that
a
the staff
good.
aren't going anywhere either.
No, they're building a solid
None of the
foundation to move
players this
forward
year, like I
with.
said, all the good ones, none of them are, like I said, not going to hit the portal. And they should
No,
recruit really well now.
yeah, you've got a foothold now. You're at the top of the Big 12.
Yeah.
You
Like I say, but
can,
this next week is the first game with pressure in it because everything's on the
yeah,
line. How do they
yeah,
handle the pressure?
yeah. Because this one, you could tell they were getting nervous.
Yeah,
Like
that
this
they're
was,
palpable nerves at the end. Like you said, they could have lost.
yeah. You just hope that now they're settled a bit. They've done it. They've got there. They're settled, and we'll see how they got on. But it's. So Tafka Days in the chat, he goes, as someone who's lived in Arizona for nearly 40 years, since I was 10 years old, that Arizona State Arizona game is always intense as any other college rivalries out there. It's not uncommon for one team to be having a down year, but absolutely stomp the other at home or on the road.
There's been
Doesn't
some
matter.
one side. There's been a lot of ass whoopings. It's only
Yeah,
going to go one way or the other.
yeah, yeah,
It won't be
exactly.
close.
No, no. So like this is what I say with rivalry week. Just disregard form. Like it does not matter. Players get themselves
And
up
they've
for
got the
this. This
fun.
is what
They've
they're
got the
made
chance to
for.
do the funniest thing ever.
And absolutely wreck your
They
season.
could. They
Like,
will break hearts.
yeah, there's so many who could be like their candidates. Michigan are candidates this year. Like they will be desperate to ruin Ohio State's season. Like desperate. So
Week
you've got to be
12 is
very
week
careful.
12. It's party pooper week. Is week 12 always? It's loads of teams that have got naught to play for. That'll play
And
against the team with everything on the line.
and speaking of party poopers, like we stay in the Big 12 here, and a record was broken this week that had never been broken before in history. For the first ever time in the FBS, a team that was below 500 beat three ranked teams in a row. And of course, we're talking about the Kansas
Jayhawks.
Jayhawks, they've affected this Big 12 title race more than any other team this year, and they sit at 4-6. Or is it 5-6 now? I can't remember. But they're below 500. They've beaten Iowa State. They nearly beat Kansas State. They're just beating teams week in, week out. Playing Colorado, who are hot shit right now. Really good. Number 16 ranked. And you're just thinking, because we had them in the pick watch last week, I'm pretty sure, and we both had Colorado winning that one, but we put Kansas in there as potential spoiler. And I mean, we saw one of the performances of the weekend from Devin Neal. How great a performance from him. We talk about like this running back life. Like Devin Neal wasn't even in our lists of top running backs in the country, and he should be. That's just how many great ones there are. But 37 carries, 207 yards, three touchdowns. He had four catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. He had 287 all-purpose yards and four touchdowns. And as good as Colorado have been, no run game in this whatsoever. They had, was it about 48 yards rushing to 266 throwing? And we saw in this one, right, the frailties of old Colorado, the two things they didn't do well last year. Stop the run, so you lose the clock battle, and be able to run the ball to give yourself a balanced offense and stop Shadur getting teed off on all the time. And there was a very questionable call in this where he got absolutely poleaxed late when it should have been called
Bad.
and it
Should have
wasn't.
been an ejection.
But for Kansas, like Devin Neal, that is one of the best performances I've seen from a player in a long time. He drove that team forward with a sheer will and determination about him and showed why he's just that good and will put some massive doubts in Colorado coming. Colorado got the easy game this week, but have they? Because there's an even better running back coming to Boulder who might just do them in. But how good was Devin Neal? And how good has this Kansas team been? And how sick must they be at the thought that they have literally taken apart all of the top of this conference and they're not even above 500 and a part of this conversation?
Yeah, they're an incredibly frustrating team, aren't they? Like you say, against teams where they've not been able to G themselves up for the game's not been, they've fallen flat on the face. Like you say, they've taken down three opposition. They only fell by one score to Arizona State. What was it, 35-31, Sun Devils? I think that's where it was. Like you say, and
Close.
Devin Neal again was an absolute unit. And funnily enough, like I say, he's a guy that for such a strong draft class will get absolutely no love next year. Even though I think for me, this is a really good running back class that's got a lot of depth. I think he's someone that should get a lot of attention. And this, I suppose it's just he's on a personal mission now. Right, say he can't help the Jayhawks, no one can. Right, say he can play spoiler for him, he's just got to be thinking about draft stock and trying to get a good bowl invite, a combine invite, because their quarterback player, like I said, for a lot of the year has been sketchy to say the least. Very up and down. But for him, he's been a constant. And then you throw in some of the best cornerbacks in the country. Like say, got guys like Melo Dotson, that they're a team where it said they've got some individual talent, but across the board do lack depth. And like I said, I wonder next year how they'll be. They lose these guys, like I say. We've seen what they can do, but it's just the fact, like I say, they struggle to find it. But like I say, yeah, incredibly fun team to watch, and they have caused the absolute havoc, and they've had the biggest effect on, like I say, the AP poll, the Big 12. But yeah, it's just not felt like it's been for them. It's they've been doing it for, like I say, other people. So I can't imagine they're overly happy about how their season's gone.
No, but I guess you're ending it on a high. Like you've beaten so many of these top teams. At least, hopefully, it will keep you recruiting strong and it'll give your team belief. But how are they going to replace him? Because I think this is his draft year, isn't it? I don't
Yeah,
think it feels like he's
yeah,
been around forever
he's
now.
been around forever, like you say. He's
And
going now with some real momentum.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, Jalen Daniels must be getting close as well. So I
He's
guess you're
not.
going to have
Yeah,
some,
they had Bean last year who weren't great. Daniels, like I
yeah.
say, it's been hit and miss. Like they need to land on a quarterback.
Yeah, you feel like if you can do that, there's a good team to be had there. It's
Yeah,
good defense.
I
There's,
see
there's a
enough
good.
talent at skill positions. If they land a quarterback, they'll
Hmm.
compete. But it's a big if because well, it's been a while since it feels like they've had someone of note or prestige.
Yeah, and then for Colorado, it's not often I agree with Dion, but he said after this one, I think they got wrapped up a bit in their own hype. Like when you've not been to championship games for so long, this is new territory for you, like Arizona State, and it kind of felt like, yeah, they brought some bad habits back in this one. They're still a good team, I reckon. There's still a lot of good players there, but this maybe showed that they're not quite at the top just yet.
Yeah, a lot of young players, a lot of naivety, bit cocky, bit got a bit ahead of themselves.
Yeah,
I think a few of them probably took Kansas too lightly.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
and now, like you say, they're in a world of trouble.
It's not in their own hands anymore. Seaton took a couple of penalties. He's been great all year, but just like, yeah, there's a lot of freshmen in that
Yeah,
team.
like I say,
So it's
if
just
they
a
were
bit
to
of,
miss out on the Big Ten title game, it'd be a disaster, wouldn't it? It would be a
I,
disaster for the Buffs with how they've finished the season.
it would. I still think overall, if you take the season as a whole, it's a big step forward.
Like I say, but like I
But
say, if you look
it's
about who they're about to lose,
yeah, yeah,
like I say, like I saw they got Colorado just got the huge quarterback commit,
from
but he's still
USC.
losing his son. He's still
Yeah.
losing Shepard, Horn. Like I say, he's still losing the best two-way player in the country. This team next year is going to look very different.
And who's the other guy who's come up big for them now? It's is it Draylon Miller? Like they've got a bona fide big receiving core there. Like I didn't even know about him, and it's like, oh yeah, he's just had a great last month he has. So
Yeah. So
they've really done. I don't know who their wide receivers coach is, but he's done an absolutely tremendous job
like you say, and
there.
I suppose I don't know. Are we convinced he'll be there next year when his
Oh
sons leave?
no, I don't know. I
He's
mean,
going to get NFL interest, isn't he?
if that Vegas job's open,
He's definitely going to get
if
NFL vacancy interest.
like I think it was you who said last week, if you see him at the Shrine Bowl and he's scouting the Shrine Bowl, potentially he's doing it because he's going to take an NFL job and he's looking
Yeah,
at going
I
forward.
think, like I say, he's going to get a lot of interest. But I just feel
Or
he's going to be
either
someone though. He's going to be very particular.
either he's going to go somewhere and he'll try and draft his son, or a poor team will draft his son, and as soon as that job offer comes open, he'll take the job. I think that might be more like you're better off. You can land on your quarterback if
It
he
won't
goes to an
surprise me,
NFL
like I
team
say,
first.
he'll if
If
he wants a big say in where he goes, and like I
if
say, whether or not he wants to be the
if the
coach.
if the Raiders took him and Antonio Pierce continues to struggle and they fire Antonio Pierce next year, then you can bet your bottom dollar he'd be gone like that.
Yeah,
I
and
think
he'd
that'd
find a
be the
way to convince
scenario
them to
where,
take him.
yeah, I think that would be the scenario that'd be at play there.
If
So
I'm Shador, I want to get away from my dad.
yeah, get out of
I want to
his.
get out of his shadow. I want to prove I can do it on my own.
Mm. And it seems more like, Travis, like again, stupid good game for him as a receiver. Kind of feels like he's nailed the receiver part down more than the corner position now. I feel like, are you still convinced he'll go as a corner? I think he looks more natural as a receiver right now. He's just so
I
damn
think he
good.
looks better as a receiver, but I think whoever takes him probably tries to go 50-50 at start, but leans him towards corner.
Yeah.
I think a lot of coaches will probably try different things of him.
Yeah, I just think he looks more natural when he like 'cause when you're a receiver, you don't have to worry about like marking someone up, right? You're just free to be you, right? Like it just looks like he's so good in this game, but they just had nothing going in the run game. You can't control the clock, it's just a pain. But Kansas playing spoiler there in terms of the fourth team in the Big 12 who are still alive. Iowa State, they got it over Utah. This was a fairly close game, not for want of a point. This is Utah's defense at this point able to do that. But another monster game for Jaden Higgins for Iowa State. 8 catches on 8 targets for 120 yards and a touchdown. The spectacle continues to be great. He threw a pick six, but let's face it, a lot of people get pick six by the Utah defense. But he was 19 of 37 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that pick six. Carson Hansen at running back had a couple of rushing touchdowns. This Iowa State team, right? It had its blip, but it's not going away. They limited Utah to just 230 yards of offense. We know their defense is really good, the Cyclones. The offense is good enough. They're still there. It's in their hands, even if they've got maybe the hardest game this weekend. But they've overcome that blip and they're still going. This is a tough team with Matt Campbell, and you can never rule them out. And, winning a narrow one here, 31 to 28, but they were always in front for the most part. And, it looked like they were. They had to get a touchdown with 90 seconds to go, but I never felt they were in too much danger.
No, I'd say it's always one of those where we just know right now Utah, they just don't have the offense to hurt someone. Their defense can do everything it wants. Like I say, it'll keep teams in it, but they can't pull away from anyone. Like I say, Isaac Wilson, like I say, Ben Asgood, but they just don't have that firepower right now, and it's a big issue. Like I say, five offensive coordinator Kyle Whittingham's come out today and says he's going to think about what's best for the program. I think he's going to resign. Personally, I take about how old he is and the program. I think he's going to leave Utah, and I think that probably would be better for them to just kind of clear house.
I do, but and the thing, if he gets to
They
resign on his
definitely
own
need a
terms,
quarter.
like
They
he's
definitely need to address the quarterback room there as well next year. They need to
like
bring in some competition.
he deserves to do it his way because he's had a hell of a run there. He
He
has
should
done,
resign. Don't make them
yeah,
fire you after thinking about it.
no, no, but you've had one hell of a run there. You're one of the longest tenured coaches in college football, but what you've done for that Utah team is absolutely tremendous. Maybe they give him one more year, who knows? Maybe they probably will, but you need to get the quarterback sorted first and foremost, and then build around that because you're always going to have an elite defense. You just need a good offense, and just don't tie yourself to Cam Rising anymore. Even if he can come back, get rid of him, get someone new, and see what you do there. So in terms of so all the teams are at 6-2 at the minute. So as I see it with the tiebreakers, it comes down to common opponents. And the crazy thing is, out of these four teams, BYU, Arizona State, Iowa State, and Colorado, only BYU and Arizona State have played one another.
Yeah.
So
There's
of
no
course
common opponents between the rest,
that
is there?
gives that gives Arizona State the leg up on them. So then it comes to common opponents on all of the teams. They've all played Kansas State, which is where Colorado falls down because they lost to them. Iowa State play them next week. So in the hypothetical
So if they
scenario where
all
7-2
lose,
teams,
Arizona State
they
makes
and
the
Iowa,
championship.
yes, I don't know how it works if, yeah, so Arizona State just need to win an in.
Yeah.
Iowa
If they
State just
lose
need to
and
win
other
an
teams
in.
lose, they still
Yeah,
get in. Yeah, because they've got the
I
breaker.
yeah, Iowa State need to win an in. For Colorado and BYU, they've got to win and hope one of Iowa State and Arizona State loses so they can beat them on outright record.
And
But
for West Virginia to get in, West Virginia has to win, and all five teams must lose.
I know I'm trying to figure
That's
because I
crazy. That would be hilarious.
I had an Iowa State West Virginia Big 12 title game, so I'm still trying to figure out if that's a
I don't think that
possibility.
can happen now because I think
No, because I
everyone
think
has to lose. I don't know who the other team would be.
so. The common opponent as well is Kansas. Everyone's lost to Kansas apart from you guys. Have you beaten
Yeah, we
Kansas,
beat
right?
them.
So all the other three have lost to Kansas. That's how your tiebreaker works, and Iowa State's
Realistically, if
tiebreaker
we
works with
lose,
Kansas
we've still
State.
got a very strong chance of making it.
Yeah, you do. You just have to hope two other teams don't win.
Yeah.
If only one other team wins, you're in. So, that's where this is at, but it's close. West Virginia, that would be crazy. I would not complain because, I mean, one of my preseason predictions,
They
right?
win
But
and the
who
five teams
knows?
above them all lose, they make it.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
idea who they play.
No, I don't. Crazy. Yes, Brent, James Houston did get waived. People are taking the mick out of me on Discord about it. I've seen my name tagged already, but who? In terms of the other Big 12 games, I mean, there were some crackerjacks this week. I think Texas Tech are incapable of having a small scoring game. Whoever they play week in, week out, they just seem to have a 100-point absolute ding dong
Bearing
there.
in mind they were
So
playing a team that was completely winless in conference as well.
yeah, absolutely. So Texas Tech 56, Oklahoma State 48. And I mean, it was a day and a half for the Oklahoma State running back. I keep on saying Melvin Gordon, Ollie Gordon, 15 carries, 156 yards, and three touchdowns. On the flip side, Taj Brooks, 28 carries, 133 yards, and three touchdowns. Behren Morton threw four touchdown passes for Texas Tech. Is it Mailiwaki Smith? I think I've got his name right. Had two touchdowns and a pick for Oklahoma State. This was just a shootout from start to finish. All good fun, but kind of it's just what Texas Tech are right at this point, right? They're an elite offense and they've got one of the
Bad
worst
defense.
defenses in the country. They're just like that year in, year out. But I mean, Brooks, Gordon, two of the best running backs in class, kind of just them two taking shots at one another and having fun.
Yeah. Like I say, this is why Texas Tech can't be taken seriously in the conference because they can score a lot of points. But if you look back at the previous games, they can barely stop a cold
They
when it
gave
comes
up
to defense.
52 to Abilene Christian, was it?
Yep,
51,
they went in double
52?
overtime.
Yeah, it's
Gave
just
up 41 to Colorado, 35 to TCU, 60 to Baylor, 41 to Kansas State.
Christ. They must be pound for pound one of the worst scoring defenses in the entire nation. I would willing to bet they're bottom
Yeah.
five,
37 at Washington State. Like I say, yeah, they give up 30, 40, 50 points on the regular.
but they could score 30, 40, 50 points on
Yeah.
the regular, which makes
Well,
them so difficult. This was a very, very high scoring one. So Arizona lost 49-28 to TCU. West Virginia beat UCF 31-21. Baylor beat Houston 20 to 10. Kansas State came out their slump. They beat Cincinnati 41 to 15. I mean, there's just so many teams in there. Kansas State inconsistent. Baylor inconsistent. West Virginia inconsistent. They can just beat each other up, all these teams, but they're all good teams. They've just been so inconsistent because there's so many good teams around in the Big 12. But it's been fun this year.
yeah, good Big 12 teams. Like I say, most of these teams, when it get outside the Big 12, they're terrible. Like TCU, 7-4. I suppose, but I look at them as a whole, not a good team. Not been a good year. But like I say, we'll beat up on, like I say, like those tarantulas, like I say, that are cannibals and they just kill each other. But when they come up against a bird of any size, they're dead, aren't they? They're fish food. They say so. They're all just cannibals, and the Big 12 eats itself alive, and that's why probably whoever wins it, they're not going to get taken seriously in the playoffs, are they? No one's going to take any Big 12 team seriously in the playoffs. Good chance whoever wins gets the snot kicked out of them the first time they meet someone.
And yet I'd argue that they'd also be more battle hardened than some of the others because of the like would you? I'd bet against them against an ACC team because it's just terrible. But I might even, consider them potentially against the Big Ten team. I don't know, depending on who it is, but it's competitive, if anything. It makes for great football as well. I say four teams, even records. Absolutely mad. Gonna move on now to the SEC, and I imagine there's some bones to pick with certain teams here.
One team.
I mean, oh well. Let's start with him. Let's start with him, Rye. I'll just let you do this. The Florida. I'm assuming this certain team
Yeah.
played Florida this week.
Yeah. We did
Okay,
say last
I'm
week.
gonna let you
We
go
said
on with
last
this.
week, didn't we, that it won't surprise us if they went and did it, and they did do it. Like I say, they get your hopes up, don't they? Lane Kiffin gets your hopes up. Like I say, they get one of the biggest wins in program history, and then, like I say, they let a freshman quarterback on an injury-ravaged team come to their gaff and, like I say, yeah, make them look silly. And like I say, we saw once again the naivety of Jackson Dart. Looks like a Heisman winner one week. Next week looks like a guy that should be at his local high school inflating footballs as an equipment manager. Honestly, his career is only going one of two ways. And right now, the more I watch him, the more I think, oh God, he's not an NFL quarterback. And the last two drives sum it up because the two interceptions he threw, honestly, I don't even know what he was looking at. There was literally no one in the same postcode.
Was it one of his was one towards the end zone into triple coverage about
Yeah.
10
And then
yards short of his target?
the second one, there's a receiver, I think about 10, 15 yards away, and he basically punts the ball with his arm. And like I say, it's just sailing out of bounds, and guy just catches it on the sideline.
It's what do you this old Miss team is like. He's got to be under some scrutiny now, surely, with how open this is this year. Like this was your chance to get there this year. Georgia are in the title game. Texas A&M, who have lost three games, can potentially reach the title game in this one this year. This was your year. You've got signature wins, and then you've lost to Kentucky. You've lost to LSU. They lost to, and now they've lost to Florida. We talk about how bad they are, but Florida, you've got to give Billy Napier some credit sooner rather than later for what he's done there. He's got Lagway settled. Like again, a lot of these teams with quarterback controversies, flipping guys in and out, can't get settled. They look settled with him now. Jaden Bohr still continues to look all right, although I think it was Montrell Johnson who carried the load in this one. They seem to be a settled team now. They seem to have found something and maybe just saved his job because when they went into that mistake game about 6 weeks ago, we all said, yeah, this is it. Regardless of what happens, he's done. But he's not yet. This Florida team's playing really good football right now.
Yeah, they're playing for him. I think part of them realize like how bad we're playing. We're putting his job in jeopardy. He's going to pay the price for our lackluster play. So the last couple of weeks, they've really pulled their socks up. And yeah, this year will be forgettable, but DJ Lagway next year can have super amount of hype. Like you say, like coming in with sophomore year, might get him some weapons. Bloody hell, they've just taken half of SSU's recruits. They could have some big names on the roster next year, some big freshmen coming in. Napier will open the season on a hot seat, and rightly so. They started this year terribly. If he starts next year badly, pull the plug. But yeah, it they could have down tools. Let's be honest. Let's say they could have gone into that game, played fairly well. Ole Miss won. No one really would have criticised them for it because he said, "Well, they got naught to play for." Good Rebels side, but no, they didn't show any respect at all to Rebels. Like I say, they played hard and tried to win the season really well. And yeah, like I say, for me, three losses obviously got a huge signature win, but for me, yeah, the Rebels they're done.
Oh
There's no
yeah, oh
playoff
yeah.
berth. Like it don't matter what they're doing last week for me. I don't see any playoff berth whatsoever.
No, they'll be looking to get to the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl at this rate. Like it might not even be a
I
prestigious
mean, I
bowl
won't be
game.
surprised if the committee does its best to get them in, but
Yeah, like it's going to. They're gonna try and shoehorn a three-loss team in there at this point,
yeah,
but
it's just going to be which one.
and as an Arizona State fan, how fed up of you of getting seeing former wide receivers do well for Florida? think Elijah Badger's on that route now. He looks
Yep.
damn good.
Saw Ricky Pearsall leave and then get drafted in the first round. See Elijah Badger there now. Like I said, hey, maybe Elijah Badger wishes he was still here.
Yeah, yeah.
He's he could be in, yeah, he might be missing out on a playoff berth. But yeah, no, good stage. I knew he was a good player. And yeah, he has another good next year. And like I say, future, then yeah, I say the future will be bright for his draft. Future's bright for his draft prospects. But yeah, like I say, it's just a path, so it's frustrating.
And for Ole Miss, they're going to lose so much this year. Trey Harris is gone. Jackson Dart is gone. The running
Newman
back
Van
room is
Malen's
gone.
gone.
Newman
Walter
Malen's
Nolan's
gone.
gone.
Yeah, it's not good.
Anyone else that's half decent is going to the portal.
Yeah, like that Ole Miss team's going to take its lumps.
Some big D,
So
yeah, they'll get some huge decommits.
probably if you carry on going this
I don't
way.
see Kiffin going. I don't see him being fired. I feel like he'll probably be able to hang on with that signature win,
His
but
deal's too big as well.
it
Like
just
I
don't. Yeah, it just don't. It feels like next year he'll be on a pretty hot seat.
just feels like James Franklin at Penn State, right? He can't break the monopoly. Oh, it's not even a monopoly at the top of the SEC at the minute 'cause you've got other teams in there, but you just can't break that glass ceiling, can he? And it just feels like sooner rather than later, you've got to make a change. Texas come in and win the SEC in year one. Like that's going to be sickening
Yeah,
to them.
It reflects badly on everyone.
It does. But yeah, Ole Miss, it is the swamp, but you still should be winning there. It's a bad loss. But all kudos to Florida for fighting hard in that one, coming from behind and winning. So got to give them credit there. And then the one we really didn't see coming, Alabama. First first season in 14 years, they've lost three regular season games.
Got
You're thinking, oh
battered.
yeah, is it Georgia they've lost to? Is it Texas A&M they've lost to? Is it Texas they've lost to? No, Oklahoma.
Freshman quarterback.
Oklahoma, who have not been able to buy a win in the SEC, who've not been able to buy offensive points this year, who are flip-flopping. They've gone back to Jackson Arnold again after pulling him, and then they've put him back in again because, like, oh yeah, maybe we should do this with him. His stat line was 9 of 11 for 65 yards and zero touchdowns. They used him as a running back
He's
in this game.
rushing.
They Jalen Milroed them. 24 carries for 134 yards, and their regular running back, Xavier Robinson, had 18 carries for 107 yards and two touchdowns, 260 rushing yards for OU compared to 75 for Alabama. I mean, I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's just been a terrific coach everywhere he's gone. This has been a very rough first year for him, and he's not going to get the type of window he got at Washington to go there and do it. So he's going to be on a massively flaming hot seat next year already, whether he likes it or not. And I don't think it's fair, but you should know better than that. You've got Jalen Milroe as your quarterback. You shouldn't be having Jackson Arnold dice you apart.
No, but therein lies the problem. Is there many more disappointing players in the nation than Jalen Milroe? Right. For me, he's got to be a disappointment. The numbers might not say it, but he's not lived up to this superstar. Honestly, I remember a couple of months ago, I said Heisman frontrunner. I said he comes into this year, and like you say, he goes after the Heisman. He's way off the pace of, like you say, most guys. Like you say, he has looked shaky. And in this game as well, like you say, just bad decision making. Like you say, there was some of those, like I said, some terrible decisions he made that put the team in negative. Like you say, what is usually a very good defense, like you say, was very porous against the run. Like I say, and yeah, offensive line, shaky. Yeah, a lot of it was bad. They hadn't had they hadn't had a loss this bad in a long time.
No, and Oklahoma, we saw the defense at the start of the season, which was just stout, rock solid, great. Three picks.
The
They
biggest
kept
guys they needed, like say this week, showed up. Billy Bowman Jr., Stutzman. I've seen him mocked to the Lions. Like say, it looks a
that
potential
hype
first
went
rounder.
quiet, didn't it? Like at the start of the year,
Yeah,
that was at fever tree,
yeah.
and then
It's
it
coming
went a
back
bit
up now.
quiet.
The linebackers. I said as soon as their defense has got some legit talent in it.
I
That
think,
defensive front is stout as all.
and it's just been held back by an offense that's not scored points like
Mm.
at all. That's just had
I still
poor.
don't trust the Oklahoma offense at all. Like I said,
I
I
don't.
still wouldn't back them any other week.
Oh,
Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart. He just had a fantastic week.
they could lose to Vandy this week. Like that's kind of how they are. That's
It
where you're
wouldn't
at.
shock me if they wouldn't shock me if they went through Jackson out again, dropped a stinker.
Yeah, absolutely. But for Bama, it's a bad loss, and that's playoffs over now. You can't let them in with losses to Vandy
No,
and to Oklahoma.
nah, I think they're out.
Yeah, short of everyone else losing lots, like there's just no justification for having them in there whatsoever. A team who may get justification though when they shouldn't. I mean, we thought maybe A&M had turned a corner this year, and then they go and lose a double overtime game to Auburn, of all teams, 43 to 41, as the SEC just wet itself this week. Like there were so many of their teams that could potentially get in as two lost teams, and Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M all on the road lose to Oklahoma, Florida, and Auburn of all teams. I mean, this was just it was tough watching. This was Jarquez Hunter we know and love. Like I think he's been held back by that offensive line for sure. We know how good he is, but he's in a tough situation. But we saw good Jarquez Hunter this week, right? Right, 130 yards, three touchdowns, and then Cam Coleman, the superstar receiver who is not going to be there next year. We can almost guarantee that now. 128 yards, two touchdowns on seven catches. I mean, Peyton Thorne had an unusually good game for him. On A&M's side, that defense, which promised so much, just not closing out, clutching big games. Nobody gives up 40 to Auburn unless they're an FCS team. But the crazy part is they can still get to the SEC title game. They could have had it sealed by now. They could be in,
Yeah,
done, won. Now they got to do it against Texas. But
they've made lives very hard for
yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
And like you say, we saw the stars light up, didn't we? Two players on Auburn that I think are too good for Auburn: Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith. Those two, they might be one of the best pairs of receivers in the entire nation. They carved up on that defense, and it wasn't just like short to intermediate, just straight up deep balls. They just went out there and they straight up just torched guys, and they showed that at the next level, two of the elite ball hawking, tracking specialists in that medium to long range. I think Lambert Smith, like I say, whichever draft cycle he enters, will get a lot of love. Cam Coleman, yes, every SEC team in the country is going to try to turn his head and get him to enter the portal. Like I say, Jarquez Hunter, another running back that goes into that middle to back end depth. Like I say, he's gonna declare. Surely, like I say, I think he's eligible. Like I say, and then like I say, Peyton Thorne. Honestly, I've not always been his biggest fan, but sometimes he has gone out there and put on big performances when he needed to like this, and I've got to respect that for him. Like I say, it was a huge win. Yeah, like I say, a very frustrating team. And yeah, A&M, like I say, they shouldn't have had to worry about the Texas game. And now everything is on the Texas game.
I mean, how big is it now? How fun is it though? This is win and you're in. These two hate one another with a passion. Like this is biggest game of the week by far for me. Even better, even bigger than the big game because this is just going to be crazy
Yeah,
good.
because it's got something on the line
Yeah, it's
for
got
both of them.
major repercussions. Like Ohio State will probably still make the playoffs even if they lose to Michigan, although they wouldn't make the title game, but still there's a lot in there. In terms of the other SEC game concerning teams at the top, Texas took care of Kentucky 31 to 14. Brock Vandegrift, 3 of 6 for 41 yards, a touchdown and an interception. If ever his season was, you know, described in a stat line, Ryan, that's probably it. Um, but more concerning for Texas, Quinn Ewers is hurt, and we don't know whether he's going to play this week. It may be Arch Manning who comes in, but he saw out this game. It was fine from him. Quintravion Weisner had 158 yards and a touchdown on the ground for Texas. Jaden Blue had a 100-yard game as well. The running game really came through for Texas here. And then for Kentucky, yeah, they had nothing but a couple of big shot plays here and there. Like I think it was Vandegrift, one of his first passes went for the touchdown. After that, they tried to run the football. They couldn't really that well. This was kind of just a meh game. Texas, it's like the Lions against the Colts. Clearly, one team's better. They
Defense
cruised
smothered,
through in manual.
offense didn't
Yeah,
get out of second gear.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I know he's getting a second opinion MRI. I don't see any way that Ewers doesn't start.
no, no. You've got to
The game's too important. They can't throw Arching.
no, no, and not against that Texas A&M pass rush as well. I know, yeah, giving up 40 points to Auburn, but they do have a good pass rush. So I would expect them to go in there and try and try and make something of that. But I mean, Kentucky, they got 6 sacks on Quinn Ewers. Like that Kentucky D line. Again, we talk about players getting wasted. There's so many good players on that Kentucky defense. You've got one of the best corners in the nation. You've
Is
got
it
a
JJ
good D
Weaver?
line.
Is he
Yeah.
still there? Like you say, he's really
They got
underrated outside linebacker.
But half a dozen sacks, if they can do that to them, then A&M, you think of, Mr. Tornado himself over there, that, he should be able to get home to them. Like Texas got to get better at that.
Yeah, like you say, it's going to be. You put Quinn out there, and he's not 100%, and like you say, any sack could be the end of his day. And then, like you say, Archie Manning's not faced any pressure yet, really, has he?
No, he
Not in the games
hasn't.
that to come, like you say, it'd be the most pressurized situation I've ever been in. So we'll really learn a lot about him if he does have to come in.
Yeah, absolutely, you do. In terms of the other SEC games, UMass, for a very small portion of Saturday, became America's darlings because they were pushing Georgia close at one stage before they went down 59 to 21. But I give UMass credit. They were just throwing haymakers at one another at the start of this, and they refused to go away. I think they got turned away at the 1 yard line at one point when they could have had 28 points down on them. So, fair credit to UMass for at least giving that one a go. Tennessee smoked UTEP 56 to nothing. South Carolina smoked Wofford 56 to 12 again, playing some of these scrub non-con games. Arkansas beat Louisiana Tech 35 to 14. In terms of other all SEC matchups, Missouri beat Mississippi State 38 to 20. I tell you what, Ryan, I know they've fallen off a bit, but the Vandy Pimps at Death Valley only lost by a score, 24 to 17, and Pavia continues to do well. Eli Stowers continues to do well. All these guys there, they're really putting up a fight here. LSU just had a bit too much for them at the end of the day, but they were able to stay competitive in this one, and it does show this Vandy team has fight in them. They were never out of this game. And they gave them as good as they got right till the end. And this still has to go down as a really good season for them. You'd hope they could have won one more, but when you're losing by one score at Death Valley, you've beaten Alabama. That shows just how far they've come as a team, and they're still playing well.
Yeah, it's one of the most memorable seasons I've ever had. Like you say, this year they've laid serious groundworks, foundations for a brighter future. And now we'll see how resilient they are in the off season, and we'll see how attractive they are because they're going to have to replace some big names. Let's see
Yeah.
how much pull they've got and just how much faith has been restored in them on the outside looking in. Sorry, us saying like say we love them, but what about quarterbacks in the portal? Like say guys like that. Do they look at Vandy and think, I can go there and I can be seen as a top NFL quarterback prospect? That will be the proof will be in the pudding. What if they
Yeah.
can't replace Diego Pavia, then they're still not taken seriously.
I know his name's used a lot, but you look at the likes of Castellanos, someone like that, the
Yeah,
dual threat quarterback. Like I do in their system, Castellanos could flourish. He's good enough passer, good runner. Like you would expect, he'd be the guy you'd want them to make a run at.
yeah.
And he's young as well, so he's
It's
got a
time to
few
get the
years left.
checkbooks out. If you're serious, you're going to have to start throwing a bit of
Yeah,
money about as well,
unless
because the
Pavia
other
can
SEC teams will.
unless Pavia can win his appeal, but it doesn't look likely at this moment in time.
Yeah.
So it's a shame for him. Moving on to the Big Ten. Ay, 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 ay. We wondered whether one of the unbeaten teams, could pull off an upset this week. We're down to one unbeaten team in the nation. Indiana were not able to do that. They got smoked
Yeah,
38-15
very
at
close.
Ohio State. They started well. So they got the first touchdown in this game. So Tyson Lawton had a touchdown run. You're thinking maybe, just maybe, and it took Ohio State 23 minutes to get on the scoreboard. But then as soon as Amika Ibuka had that touchdown pass, it was kind of that was it from there. They had two touchdowns before the half, and then the big killer was the Caleb Downs punt return from 80 yards out, and you're like, yeah, this is that. And Indiana just really had nothing after that. They were able to get a touchdown back. Tyson Lawton had a second rushing touchdown of the day. He did all right. Justice Ellison did okay as well. But I mean, Curtis Rourke was 8 of 18 for 22 yards. That kind of just goes to show you the passing game was not there at all. The Indiana defense did valiantly. James Carpenter, the nose tackle transfer from James Madison, he had three quarterback hits on Will Howard. Like they caused some serious problems through that interior when it came to the pass rush. And they were able to keep Quinson Judkins in check. He's running about 2.5 yards per carry, but ultimately couldn't stay on the field. Ohio State just far too many offensive weapons were able to beat them into submission, and it's still a really good season for Indiana, right? I think this just goes to show, though, that they've come so far, but there's still quite a distance to go before they get amongst the elite.
Yeah. We've seen their ceiling. Like I say, in the end, like I say, especially second half, yeah, they struggled to lay a glove on Ohio State. They're still the benchmark they're trying to get to, and really good, but yeah, a long way off. Like I say, they've got the right people in place now. They've got the right staff. They've got some of the right players. Now we'll, like I say, have to see how they replace the guys that are leaving. Like I say, the Portal guys should want to go to Indiana now. Like I say, now they've kind of established themselves as one of the more prominent Big Ten teams right now. So yeah. So yeah, so close, but yet so far.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking, I don't know. I think their playoff dreams are over. I don't see them getting consideration.
So they can still make the championship game, let's just say. So they need Ohio State and Penn State to lose,
And
and they need to beat Purdue.
Yeah.
I think their only route in now is by beating Oregon in the championship game.
Yeah.
I don't think they get in as a one-loss team. They're
No.
just the strength of schedule was 106th before
I'm
this
looking at
one.
the Big Ten and I'm
And
kind of
Purdue's
starting to
not
think
gonna.
now, like say, it's only Oregon and Ohio State
Yeah.
that can get in.
Purdue's not going to
No.
bump
Purdue's
up your
one of the
strength of
worst teams in the
schedule
country,
rating.
so
Exactly.
unless you go out there and beat them like 50, 60 nil,
Yeah,
you've got to absolutely dismantle them. But they're that bad. They do not help your record.
Unless some of these three-loss teams move to four-loss teams. That might be the way, but it's tough, and I don't think you want Indiana playing away at like Ole Miss or not Ole Miss, but like Texas A&M or something like that. I think
I'd
they would
like to see
struggle.
it.
Oh, I would like to.
I would like just because I
think-
want to know how good Indiana are, and that would tell me how good they are.
And to be honest, playoff experience, even if they weren't back to have players who would then have played playoff football's big for a program.
If they go out and they get
You've got
smoked
to-
by A&M in the first round, I won't be mad. They won't be
I
upset.
wouldn't. Again, that they use that for next year, and you use it as your experience. So, I would still like to see them get in. It's tough, but we'll see with them. Speaking of teams who are just alive, though, Penn State. Penn State are so lucky. They are
They
still even in
scraped
consideration
by.
for this. This Minnesota team is good, and it's 6-5 this year, which I don't think is a fair reflection of where it's at. They've taken a while for their FCS quarterback to get going, but they gave Penn State such a good game here. They got up 10-0 early. Penn State were able to level it, but then Minnesota go in front again. Penn State come back, and then there was a returned extra point from Minnesota, very rare to see, when Penn State tried to go for the field goal. They blocked it, returned it, got 19-16 up. Field goal from Kesich to make it a 6-point lead, but they just fell apart near the end. Nicholas Singleton had a touchdown run. They got a field goal to get 4 up. Dragon Kesich sunk another field goal with 6 minutes to go. It was a 1 point game. They had their opportunities to. They just fell short. Like this Penn State team is not. I've come to peace with the fact that even though I said it was going to win the Big Ten, it's not good this year. This Minnesota team really pushed it close. They've still got a ways to go themselves, but it's a very spirited performance from them. They're closer than maybe Indiana are at this moment in time to breaking this cartel at the top.
Yeah, we've seen some really good performances from Minnesota this year, especially against the other Big Ten teams. They've really held their own. And we've seen, like you say, started the year slow, picked up momentum. Like you say, they're finishing the year strong. Like you say, they're going in momentum next year. I agree with you. Penn State, they don't feel anywhere near as good as their record should tell me. And I wouldn't back them if they made the Big Ten title game. I wouldn't back them in the playoffs. I don't trust them, despite all the talent and everything. Yeah, they just feel like fool's gold.
Yeah, I agree. I think they wouldn't stand much more of a chance in the playoffs than Indiana would at this point. I know they've
I
got the
don't
big
trust Allah.
players.
It's Allah that I don't trust.
It's that, and the offensive line's just not like that. Run game should be better. With having Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton in there, they should be better. Katron Allen had 7 carries for 10 yards in this. Like Singleton was better, but at the same time, they should be if they had a better run game to take the pressure off Allen, I think it'd be better. I mean, he was 21 of 28. Fine game for him, but there's just something not sticking here. The Minnesota team are very good. We're able to get a couple of sacks. It's 7 tackles for loss on the day, two sacks. They lost the turnover battle ultimately, which cost them. There's a fumble and an interception from Brosmer in there, but Penn State live by the skin of their teeth in this one. And as it stands, Oregon are in, and as I mentioned, there's 3 one-loss teams in there now. Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana. Ohio State have the inside track because they've beaten the other two. Ohio State just need to win and they're in. If Ohio State lose, I'm not sure how the tiebreaker works between Penn State and Indiana. I would assume it'd be Penn State based on
Yeah.
strength of schedule.
I think Indiana need both of them to lose, don't they?
Indiana need both of them to lose. So still technically 3 teams who could get in, but it runs through Ohio right now. So we'll see with that one. In terms of the other Big 12 games, Illinois won 38-31 against Rutgers on the road. Iowa road winners against Maryland 29-13. Michigan State beat Purdue 24-17 at home. Michigan swamped Northwestern 50 points to 6 at home. Nebraska did in Wisconsin 44-25 at home, and USC beat UCLA on the road 19-13. Yeah, that just screams mediocrity in that amount. All those teams there, right? Just doesn't really matter, does it?
No. Big Ten is bad. It's just so mid.
That's it. That's the word of the day.
Yeah.
Mid.
And whoever wins
Absolutely.
it, I don't see them making, even Oregon, I don't see them making strides in the playoffs, if I'm honest.
No, I don't know. There's something. I feel like Oregon are. I think they're going to do something this year. We'll see with it, but I do feel like there is something potentially there for them. Moving on to the ACC now. So in terms of the teams at the top, SMU are in. They absolutely twonked Virginia 33-7 on the road. Their season just gets better and better. Miami, the Hurricanes won 42-14 at home to Wake Forest. Potential icky challenge out the way there, which puts Miami back in the driver's seat to join SMU in the title game. It's if Miami wins, they're in. If they lose, Clemson are in. So it comes down to those two there. Kind of feel like it's going to be Miami at this point, right?
Yeah. You look at the last game, yeah. They'll outscore them.
Yeah.
Clemson, they've left it too little, too late, haven't they?
Yeah, it has.
Start the season better, and if they start the season better and they finish it like this, then they probably run away with the ACC.
So I believe Louisville's the clincher here. Miami have beaten them when they probably shouldn't have, and Louisville have beaten Clemson, so it's the common opponents record because they've not played one another. So, but yeah, they're in there. In terms of the other ones in the ACC, Georgia Tech won again. They beat my NC State Wolfpack 30-29. Clemson beat the Citadel, one of the best named teams in football, 51-14. UNC got twonked by Boston College. Syracuse won 31-24 over UConn. Quarterback there, Carl McCord. He's the first poised to break 4,000 yards this year. He's at like 3,960 or something like that. So Kyle McCord figures to be the first QB past 4,000 yards this year. Florida State, rare win for them at home to Charleston Southern, 41-7, but they still gave up a touchdown. So, you know, Stanford gave up a big lead against California in the fourth quarter to lose the big game between them, as it's called, 24-21. Me and Rye both bet on Stanford in the pick wash on that, so screw you, Cardinal. Pittsburgh got absolutely trounced by Louisville, 37-8, as the season has just cratered.
Did he break his leg?
Did he?
They took him straight to hospital, Holstein.
I've not seen what
he was carted off in an ambulance, never came back.
I didn't actually know that.
I think he might have had a serious leg injury. I think it took him straight to hospital. So I think he had some torn or break.
It's not season ending. That's what it says here.
Well, the season's over, so it is season ending.
Yeah. So what does it say here?
Yeah, I know he went straight to hospital, so they were worried.
So Pat Narduzzi says it's not season ending. Whether it means the 2025 season, I don't know. But
don't know what that means at this point in the season.
No, but Pitt never recovered from that SMU hammering, did they? Like their season was going well till then, but I think SMU literally broke
dismantled
them.
it, yeah. And then, like I said, Eli just rattled him that.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's missed a few injured as well, and the backup didn't do so well. Duke beat Virginia Tech 31-28 as well. Disappointing season for the Blue Devils, but a little bit of a season.
No, actually, I think it's been a really good year after losing Mike Elko.
Oh, do you reckon? Well, yeah, I guess.
Big wins, good record. I mean, the ACC is bad.
The quarterback's not been as good as we hope, though. Is that fair to say?
I like Malik Murphy, but he's he's too volatile.
Maybe it's just an experience thing. Maybe if he's back next year, like he's cleaned a lot of that.
I love him at times. Like I say, he terrifies me.
Yeah. I think that's fair. That's a fair synopsis there. Moving on to the group of 5 conferences now. The CUSA, I mean, that's wide open at this point. Jacksonville State are in the title game now. They beat Sam Houston 21-11 at home.
Bugger.
Yes, but they're not out of it just yet, I don't think. And then Liberty twonked Western Kentucky at home 38-21. So that is in the air at the moment as to what's going on. So Jacksonville State are definitely in. I believe at the minute, let me just get the conference's standings up here because I can do it a bit easier this way. Liberty are 5-2, Sam Houston are 5-2, Western Kentucky are 5-2, but Liberty have it on tiebreakers at the moment. Obviously, they've beaten Western Kentucky, they've beaten Sam Houston, so still the potential for something to materialize in the last week there, right? But like Western Kentucky blew a great chance this year. We talked about them in the CUSA preview. They had the best team coming back in terms of returning talent. Ton of freshmen in the team from last year who are now sophomores who are experienced, and like Liberty have not been good this year and they've still not overcome them.
Yeah. Like I say, prime opportunity against the Liberty team that has had some terrible losses. They were reeling, like I say, they were really clinging on for dear life, weren't they? Didn't show up, like I say, and yeah. And now they're on the outside looking in because, like I say, Liberty held the tiebreakers, or they're both. They've got 1 foot in the game, so it's not in their hands, and that's not a situation you want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the other games, there are only 2 others. New Mexico State beat Middle Tennessee 36-21. Kennesaw State got a rare win against Florida International, who, yes, I predicted again the title game, 27-26. So maybe Kennesaw finishing with the same flourish that Sam Houston did last year. Moving to the American, this was already decided. Army are playing Tulane in the championship game there. But, right, that doesn't mean Army get out of our good graces this week. For the second time this year, Notre Dame absolutely smoked a service team and ruined any hope that they had of reaching reaching the playoffs. Now, I will say, I mean, they started off bad in this one. Army did. They gave up turn up. If they were three and outed early, they had a really impressive touchdown drive for their first one. Bryson Daly's. It was so good, and you're thinking maybe they can just get back into this, but Notre Dame carved them open with their run game, and it wasn't really competitive in the end, which is such a shame because we had such high hopes for them.
Yep. I at least hoped it'd figure better than Navy. I mean, less turnovers, but in the end, like you say, yeah, it was just as uncompetitive, really, unfortunately.
It was just one turnover for Army, but Jeremiah Love, he's had his ups and downs this year, but like 7 carries for 130 yards and 2 tutties is not bad for him. Jadarian Price had 2 rushing touchdowns. Aeneas Williams had one. Like Riley Leonard had quite a quiet day by his standards. He was 10 of 13 for 148 and 2 touchdowns, which is great and all. Bryson Daly continued his repertoire. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. They had 210 rushing yards, but it's the size of the linemen, right? Like they just carved the Army D line open because it's smaller, and they just were not able to get the run game going early. You get a big lead early, and
Run
service teams
game's
just
no
can't
good, is
play
it?
from
Yeah.
behind. No,
Run game's no good if you're 3 scores behind. You
no.
can't throw the ball. You don't have a deep ball. Can't score quick enough.
No, exactly. And it was a shame because we did see Army had some good drives against them in this. Like they had the potential there, but not over a full 60 minutes. It was just too tough for them there. In terms of other American games, UTSA blew out Temple 51 to 27. UAB blew out Rice 40 to 14. Thank you, Trent Dilfer. I had that one in the pick watch. Charlotte beat Florida Atlantic 39-27. East Carolina 40 to 28 winners over North Texas, and their interim head coach
They've
now
hired him,
has
haven't
that
they?
job.
He's won all 4 games, hasn't he?
Yeah, 4-0. So they've got a new head coach now. He's one of their own. Good on you there. And then the South Florida Bulls laid
Oof, twonk.
a 60 burger down on Tulsa. 63 to 30 and what was a 93-point game, but I guess it's been a disappointing season for Goalish and the Bulls. Like we thought they might be fringe. They're 6-5. They're a bowl team. They absolutely went to town here, but I this is how far they've come. 6-5, and it feels like a disappointment for them, and they should be doing better. But still bowl eligible, still all right for them.
Yeah, it's all right for now, isn't it? Like I say,
Yeah.
I think yeah, they're gonna
Next
have to put
year,
more pressure on Alex now. I think next year they need loftier aspirations. 6-5 next year should be disappointing, and it shouldn't please anyone
no.
because you can't just rest on your laurels. So next year there needs to be a bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, that does, and I think that comes with and I think he'd want that as well. Like he's set a really good foundation there, and so hopefully next year is the one where you want him in the American conversation. If Army can get up there in year one, there's no excuse they can't. Like this is a big reminder for all the teams in the American that it is possible. Moving on to the Mountain West now, and Ryan, it looks like we're going to get the one we all wanted because Colorado State messed it up. But Boise don't look
No,
right
they were
at the
bad.
minute.
They were not good.
This is the second week in a row they've looked average, and it's taken
They had to
Ashton
rely on one man to
Gianti.
bail them out again.
Yes, Ashton Giante, 170 yards and a touchdown, just going absolutely mad.
Took a second half again, though. Another bad first half, like it was against the Spartans.
You just don't feel there's something not quite right at the minute. Like the defense is playing well; they're not giving up much points, but like I say, the offense, Maddox Madsen, it just feels a little flat, doesn't it? Sometimes, and it feels like teams are finally learning how to hem them in a little bit, but ultimately Giante's just so good he'll find a way through.
They're
But
slowing them down.
this doesn't bode well for their playoff aspirations. I feel like there was a tier of playoff teams they'd be able to beat, like low-hanging 2-loss, 3-loss teams. I'd be concerned if they faced anybody in there right now.
Yeah. Any good team in the playoffs can take away Ashton Jonty. And I absolutely love him. But someone will keep him under 100 yards. And Maddox Madsen, don't get me wrong, he's young. He ain't winning you a playoff game without Ashton. He just ain't it. He ain't it yet. They also lack the weapons at receiver to really penetrate. Don't get me wrong, they lead the nation in sacks still, don't they? They've got the best sack team in the country. But like I say, if they come up against a Big Ten O line, a rough SEC O line, are they getting home?
No.
I don't know. Like I say, so yeah, I fear for them. Unless they get a favourable draw, playoffs, it feels like one and done.
Yeah, it does. And potentially they're going to be vulnerable for a certain team to come in
And like I
and
say,
have their way with them.
honestly, depending on who they get match up, like I say, Ashton, some people will tell him not to play, won't they?
Hmm.
Some will tell him don't play in the playoff game, don't risk the injury, or don't risk a bad performance. You're going to try win the Heisman and go in the top 20 in the draft.
You're
Maybe
going to
sit
want to
that one
be
out, buddy.
you're going to be one of he wants to go higher than where Gibbs got picked in the draft at this
Yeah.
point, and that's I don't believe all this hype that
Does
it's
he need to play in the
Dallas.
playoffs and
It
have a
can't
good
be
game to take the Heisman away from Travis Hunter?
if Dallas take a running back so high in the draft, that's just they're fatally flawed. Like nobody is that good. That team needs
The
a
teams
lot
I've seen him
else.
to most are Cleveland. I've
Mm.
seen they ship
I
Chubb.
would love him in Cleveland.
I've seen Minnesota, which made me want to puke because
Yeah,
honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense and I
keep
hate it
him
so much. And
keep him away
Dallas.
from the NFC North. I
Yeah,
would
I don't want
love him.
anywhere near. Luckily, the Bears don't need him, and luckily, the Packers don't need him. But I say Aaron Jones, oh, he's not healthy.
No,
Minnesota would be primed to take him.
Deontay will be an all-pro in Cleveland sooner rather than later. Who are they going to face though? Colorado State had the driving seat for this, but they lost the weekend just gone. They blew it against Fresno State 28-22. And who was lurking on the sideline? The UNLV Rebels, who a day before had taken down San Jose State 27-16, and now they've lost to Boise once this year, but Hajj Malik Williams is settled in the go-go now. 11 of 20 for 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have one pick, but Jaden Thomas, 135 yards and a touchdown. They are running the ball really well. Ricky White, seven
It's the
catches for
game we all
98
want, innit?
yards.
It's what we all wanted, wasn't
It
it? We saw the
is.
first game and we thought we need a matchup. We need a rematch.
We do. And this is the one we want. And I think UNLV are going to get it now. Like,
And
they,
I actually I picked Boise State the first time. I
yeah,
would lean harder towards the Rebels in a rematch, if I'm honest.
I do. Because I think Malik Williams is now settled in the system
Their
and he's played
passing game, I
enough.
think, would maybe suit them better. Now it's more
It's
settled in.
weird. Ricky White must love this quarterback change more than anybody because he
He
was a
didn't get a look in with Sluka.
non-factor. He was a non-factor when Sluka was playing. Now Hajj Malik Williams has played. He's his man's favorite target. He had 7 catches. The next guy, they were all tied at 1 catch. Like it's just nope, not thrown to anyone else. Ricky, you're my guy. I really want to see this more than anything. So UNLV are primed. And interestingly, Ash mentioned this today, apparently on a Florida State podcast, a very well-known one. Brennan Marion is in serious consideration to be their new offensive coordinator. And I said on the prediction show this year, when we were doing predictions, that UNLV need to win it this year because Marion will be at a top 20 team next year, coaching. Now, technically, they're not this year, but in terms of prestige and history and that, Florida State are one of the
I
bigger
think he'll
teams in
turn
college
down head
football.
coach vacancies to be an OC.
I do. I mean, if you go and
If
if
you give him the
you
right
if you
weapons,
if you go to Florida State and turn their offense around and win an ACC with them, then you can have whatever head coach job you want. I think it's limited right now to group of 5 opportunities. I think if you go to Florida State and do it, the world is your oyster. You'll be one of the hottest commodities in football. So, like from that point of view, I knew he was going to get picked up by someone sooner rather than later. Just Please not Florida State. I want to
He's a
admire the
quarterback though,
Go-Go.
doesn't he? Because
Yeah, he
the
does.
two kids they've
Just,
got
just,
right now ain't running his system.
just anywhere else. Just please, Brennan, go to a big team, but anyone but Florida State. I'm begging you, don't go there. Because I love you too much, and I'd have to root for you, and I don't want to root for Florida State. In terms of the other Mountain West games, there are only a couple of others. Air Force beat Nevada. Thank you, Air Force, because everyone picked Nevada in that one. And Utah State twonked San
Oh,
Diego State
I saw that record.
41 to
Was it
20.
Air Force are the first team ever to win with less than 20 passing yards? Less than 10?
Oh, was it? Oh, hang on.
Yeah, I
Let's have a
saw
look
somewhere
at
it's
this.
like the first ever FBS win. They had like 15 passing yards.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
check that, yeah.
absolutely
I
crazy.
think they broke a crazy record.
Oh, no, wait. Do you want to know what their quarterback stat was?
Was it 0?
Quentin Hayes, 0 of 3 and an interception.
Yeah. They're the first team in FBS history to win a game with 0 on negative passing yards, apparently.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. They had 200
How
yard
bad do you have
rushers.
to be to do that? How bad does your opposition have to be to let you do that?
They had 318 rushing yards, which kind of evened it out. But you know what Air Force are like. Nevada have been better this year, but that's going to sting for them. They're 3-9 now. That's really going to sting because they're better than that. I think they got like 5 one-score games, and now that's going to make it 6. So they've just been on the bad side of that. Oh God, right, we're getting on. Let's just get the rest of this done. Sunbelt, App State beat James Madison. Arkansas State beat Louisiana Monroe. South Alabama beat Southern Miss. Georgia Southern beat Coastal Carolina. Louisiana beat Troy, so they're in the championship game now. Georgia State, big win, 52-44 over Texas State. And Marshall, big win over Old Dominion, 42-35. So looking like a
I
Marshall.
imagine it's between Marshall and Arkansas State.
No, Marshall and Louisiana. So
Are they confirmed?
No. Louisiana, South Alabama have beaten Louisiana last week and they're 1 game behind. So if Louisiana lose and South Alabama win, South Alabama are in it. If Louisiana win, they're in. But for Marshall's part side of the column, they're basically in.
Yeah, because
So,
James Madison lost.
but what turnaround for Marshall? Last year I predicted them I'm so mad with them. Last year I predicted them to make the title game against Troy. No, was it against Troy? It was against South Alabama, and they finished bottom. Well, they've got it in the locker. They can do it. But I'm so mad with them. But they beat Old Dominion. But Old Dominion put up a good fight, so by no means out of that one there. And then in the MAC, Ohio trounced Toledo. That was their test of their credentials, let's say. They're going to the MAC title
Close.
game. And then, yeah, this week, we've got Bowling Green versus Miami of Ohio, which is going to decide who their opponent will be. Bowling Green beat Ball State, and I mean, just Harold Fannin, Titan #1 in the nation. Yes, no.
2.
Ooh,
Tyler
you got him
Warren.
behind Loveland still.
Now going behind Warren.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I have Loveland at 3.
Oh,
Harold Fanning's been way more important to his team than Coastal Loveland has to Michigan.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think he's going to be great there. Akron smacked Kent State, who's they'll be glad their
Oh,
season's coming to an end.
that was bad.
Rough. Central Michigan beat West Michigan. I think we mentioned that last week. So they played it early. First time they've beaten them there since 2010. Long time.
14
And
years, yeah.
then Buffalo twonked Eastern Michigan. Not a good year for the Crate Train. Right, that is everything for week 13. Now we need to speed ahead quickly because I need to be on time for the thing today because we got Ryan Dengle coming over from that. So let's just get the pick watch up and we will get this one done and dusted and then maybe have some final thoughts about week 14. 10-minute warning. Oh, we've got a 5-minute. Right. Okay. Let's get to this. Where are we? I'm sure he won't mind if I'm 2 minutes late. Pick watch. And this got to beat Paul this week. This is Brett's thing. So, everybody's
I'm out
filled
of
in.
it. I've had a look. I'm pretty much out.
Well, they don't know. You could just have 10
I
outsiders
think I
this
need to go
week.
10-0, and someone has to go at least like 1-9 and 2-8.
Yeah, well, we will see because we've still got the championship games and the playoffs to go. We're going to do all of those, so maybe not just yet. Right, first up, Texas at Texas A&M. Winner goes to the SEC championship game. Ryan, is it Aggies or Longhorns? Who have you got?
Aggies upset.
See, I agree with you. I
I don't think
said
it's if Ewers is even slightly got a knock. I just think it's the wrong defense to be putting him out there, not 100%.
so. I had Texas A&M making the title game this year, so I am riding and dying. I need some good takes to come up for me this year. So A&M, please, for the love of God, win this one. Notre Dame at USC. This is the Jules Shillelagh, right?
Yep.
This is the one they fight for, the big one. In Notre Dame need to win or the playoffs are done. USC are on a win streak now, though. Like USC under no pressure looked like a prime Nick Saban Alabama team. USC under pressure looked terrible, but they've got nothing to lose in this. This is a big time spoil alert this weekend. But can USC put Notre Dame down?
No. Trojans can only beat bad teams. That's what I've learned this year.
All right. I am going for the USC upset because I hate Notre Dame and I don't want them to get there. Big rivalry game next, South Carolina at Clemson. The Gamecocks, we had to do it one last time this year, right? They've been hot, they've been cold, they've been good. They're playing Clemson this week. Who've you got? Can the Tigers win at home, or are South Carolina going to have one more good game in them? Lenoris Sellers, man's hot right now.
I'll take Clemson, more consistent. Phil
I'm taking.
Mather.
I'm taking.
South Carolina lacks a run game, and Phil Mather's carried Clemson at times.
I'm taking Clemson, and I fully expect South Carolina to absolutely railroad them as punishment for doing that. So that's where we're at. Right. Now we've got the Big 12 title scenario. We've put all three games in here, so we need to see where we're at. Kansas State at Iowa State. Iowa State win, and they are in, but Kansas State look good this weekend gone. Maybe the hardest assignment for any of these teams coming up. Ryan? Can the Cyclones get to the Big 12 title game and make me the happiest man in the world? Or do the Wildcats have one last upset in them this year?
Where is the game?
At Iowa State.
It's hard, let's say, because Iowa State.
You owe me. You owe
Their
me.
run game for me has been bad.
You owe me. You predicted they were going to lose. Every time you predict they're going to lose, they lose. So you owe me here. I was going to do it.
Kansas State.
Damn it. I swear
I'm taking DJ Giddens. Iowa State can't run the ball.
I swear to God, if they lose, you're going to fall out next week. So this. All right, let's flip it. Territorial Cup time, Ryan. Arizona State at Arizona. 3 years in a row, Arizona have won the trophy, and they get to be the ultimate party poopers this week. But they got their ass handed to them by TCU. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now, but as was mentioned in the comments earlier, it doesn't matter. Who have you got?
I've only got to worry about Tatoria McMillan. You take him away. ASU's winning easy. Wildcats can't run the ball. We can.
See, I'm not going to be petulant and bet against them. I'm going to take Arizona State as well. I've had them since the
they're
start.
just the better team, and they look like, say, yeah, TCU can dismantle Arizona.
Yeah,
ASU should never be losing to them.
No, absolutely not. Oklahoma State at Colorado. This, on paper, seems like a very easy one because Colorado will be massive home favorites. But Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon, 150 yards, 3 touchdowns last week. We saw what Devin Neal did to them. The Cowboys have absolutely nothing to lose. And Boulder, they have to win. Can you see this being a potential banana skin for Dion's boys? Or are they going to end the season with a win and be sweating on results elsewhere?
I'm going to regret this. I'm going to say the Cowboys get their first and only Big 12 win of the year.
I've got that as well. I've got Oklahoma State winning. Houston at BYU. BYU, similar category. Houston just fired their OC. They've got the worst point scoring offense in the country with 13, but they've got a damn good defense to go with it. But BYU are out of form, and this is the Big 12. Are they going to lose 3 in a row to
All
the
the
end of the
stats
season?
tell me to pick BYU,
miserably?
but I'm picking Houston.
I'm with you. I think
BYU are about to unravel.
I do. I think their season's just going to unravel terribly. Florida at Florida State. Need I say more? And you know what? I gave Ash a challenge this week. I said if you put Go Gators in your win column, I'll give you 2 points if they do it, and he's done it. So fair play to the man.
I've got a feeling this will be closer than I think it should be. I'll take Florida just. I've got a
I'm
feeling
taking
though that
Florida just.
Seminoles are just going to show up out of
I'm
nowhere.
I'm taking Florida just. Arkansas at Missouri. I'm gonna have the Razorbacks in this one because I just don't think Missouri are that good. Who've you got, right?
Uh, I'll take Missouri, but I don't like Missouri. I don't think they're good.
And then the last one, the two biggest home wreckers in the Big 12 recently, Kansas at Baylor. I know how much you love Baylor, but Kansas are the form team, but they're not playing a good team this week. They're playing a bad team. This for me is just a toss-up and I've no idea. I'm going to pick the Baylor Bears because they've screwed me all year long, so the least they can do is get me a win to end the year. Kansas at Baylor.
Uh, Clash of styles. It's run v the pass. Baylor.
You've got Baylor as well. That's fine. Right, so we need to get out of here in a tick. Just other ones to quickly mention. The big. Is there any hope this year for Michigan? I'm going to call this now. I think Michigan are going to upset Ohio State this year. And if Danny Mac's listening, he's going to go crazy as me being a Michigan homer. But I think Michigan have nothing to lose here. And Ohio State, they've cracked when it matters most in years gone by. I think Michigan are going to beat them personally. I didn't put it in the pick watch because I knew everyone would pick Ohio State, but is there any chance for them, or is this the year when Day finally gets them?
No, I think they get their ass kicked.
Okay.
I just see a lack of offense.
All right. Fair dues. Other rivalry ones. Miss State, Old Miss. I mean, could Miss State upset Old Miss?
Yes, give me Miss State in the Apple Cup.
Okay.
I mean,
Boise,
no, the Egg Bowl.
the Egg Bowl. That's fine. Boise State at home to Oregon State. Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio. Are we going to be correct this week? Bowling Green, are they going to make us look good? Or are the Red Hawks going to sneak in at their expense?
I've got. I'm just going to take the Red Hawks. I'm going to go against my own
Oh.
prediction. I'm going to take the Red Hawks at this time of the year.
All right, lovely. Right, that is enough for today. We need to get out of here and get prepped for the next show. So appreciate all who've been listening this evening. We've done the FCS playoff bracket. We have done quarterback searches through the FCS and JUCO for who's coming up potentially to the FBS this year. We've done our reviews and previews as always. Appreciate everyone who has watched the show again. If you have any questions, want us to do any scouting, anything, let us know, just like we did for Mile Marker this week. Sorry there was no Hank appearance, Grandizer. I'm assuming he's sleeping because the weather's cold this year. So, the dogs sleep when it's cold. But we'll try and get him on next week for you. Yeah, everyone's saying Hank. No, we'll try and do it next week. You got Hank and a cat last week, so you got two animals in one. So, we've got to even this out here. Appreciate you all for listening. Roar of the Lions UK is where you can find us. Just type it in, you will find us there. Me and Ryan will be back next week to preview championship weekend and what went on in the last week of the season. Is going to be good fun. But yeah, thank you ever so much, Ryan. Appreciate it. Been a great week as always. We've got a lot to look forward to next week, and we shall see you then. Let's see who finds the island of Gasparilla. Take care. Bye.
Record